everybody's having a beautiful day. Okay, first thing I want to do is shout out to everybody that pulled up in here before the show got busy, got started. Shout out to Fox 5. He says Montgomery got busy. Oh, shout out to Melly. He says, Troy went out bad, sources say. M. Mills laughing. Overlord Jones says, damn. M. Mills says, I hope you got some good notes for us because you got a lot to cover today. We got a lot to cover today. That's a fact. Don't let nobody lie to you. All of the things. What up, Ayrton? With the eyes over there, the googly eyes. How you doing, Daisy May? She says, let's go. What up, Nick the Slick? He's like, oh, Frost. What up, entertainment? Since Frost is working hard gathering all the notes needed for this recap. I'm giving, if you got a word up there, I'm gonna shout you out. Let's go. Shout out to Kim's reaction show. She says, salute, salute. You know what it is. How you doing, baby girl? What up, Misty? Says about to mess up 75% of what happened today as usual. I'm guessing. What up, Cerise? She says, yes. What up, New York Links? How you doing, my brother? Salute, salute. What up, EA? Says, ha, ha, ha. Got my popcorn ready. Everybody have all of the popcorn. Shout out, Gaddy. What's up, Sharice? She says, thought they kidnapped you. You don't even want to know. What up, Ark G? Says, shout out. We was in the court building. That's a fast salute, homie. What up, New York Links? Once again, lovely peace. Live dollars. Let's get this show started. Jazzy, Kitten's Touch. Let's get this show started. All right, so first thing I want to say is this. Yes, you have read the title correctly. I want to be clear on that. The title was read absolutely correctly. I just want you to know. That's going to be later in the show, but I might as well tell you now. Okay? One of the most interesting conversations today was had between Montgomery Esquire and Troy Ave. First of all, they couldn't even. Okay, what do you call the court reporter, the stenographer? The stenographer had to keep time. You can't talk at the same time. Like they was really going at it. There's this one part where Troy Ave starts dissing his uniform, starts dissing his gear. Yo, check this out. Troy Ave started dissing his gear. That was crazy. He said something about his jacket and his pants not matching. Then he said, Troy Ave, you got crocodile tears. They was going in, I promise you. Oh, man, it was crazy. That's later in the show, though. We're going to get to that. So, I'm just letting you know. Today was one of them dead days. All of the things. Hit that like button. Let's go. First, I want to say this. So apparently, okay, so I'm going to explain to y'all what was going on real quick, right? Yeah, he's an exceptional lawyer. I'm going to explain to y'all what was going on real quick. So the prosecution calls a witness, Troy Ave. Troy Ave is the witness, right, that was also shot and was a part of the scuffle for the crime, the main crime, that TAXSTONE is on trial for right now. That is the murder of Banger, R.I.P. Banger. So, since Troy Ave is the main witness, they need to get his testimony in for what happened that day so they can say TAXSTONE is the one that fired the gun. Do you get it? Are we there yet? You here with me? You here with me? So the prosecution puts him on the stand. And I'm telling you right now, before I even read this through the first time, the prosecution is extremely smart. At first, I thought it was a mistake because I wasn't paying attention. But it was smart. So the prosecution had Troy Ave recant what happened that night 3 different ways, at 2 different ways, pardon me, and every time with a little variable here and a little variable there, but still basically telling the exact same story. Why the variables? You're about to find out. Ingenious. It was a great strategy, just so you can understand what Montgomery was up against, Mr. Montgomery Esquire. Just so you can understand what he was up against. So their strategy was it's this what it seems like to me, because they had Troy Ave recant the story first verbally, then they had to do the story over again, not recant, but say the story over again with the video. So do you understand where I'm going with this? So they made sure that he knew exactly what he was supposed to say when he's talking to Mr. Montgomery Esquire. So that's basically what the prosecution's plan was. And that is a great plan for your star witness. Now, I want to be clear about a few things. Troy Ave takes the stand, right? Boom, he comes out. Sharp suit, dark blue, black suit, sharp. Comes out. He sits down. He's looking like Scrooge McDuck. He's like, he has like something over here. It's like shining off for the lights. He got a little bit of jewelry on, not too much, not too good. Gets on the stand. They go over how many brothers, sisters he got. They go over his sons, yada yada. Shout out to his son, shout out to his siblings. They go over the fact he got a trucking company real quick. But I did find something out that was really interesting. Real quick, I want to say before we get all the way to it, right? I want to find out something interesting. Troy Ave, I don't know if his mom's and his father was together, but I assume that they were, because they both worked at the same exact company for basically the same exact years, with the father just retiring a couple of years later than the mother. And I thought that that was dope, that we have a representation of a black successful, because you can say whatever you want to say about Troy Ave. Troy Ave has been successful at what he was doing up until this happened, correct? So a black couple raised a successful black man. So besides anything else that you're thinking about Troy Ave, however the route he got to wherever he got to, that's just something to say. Anyway, I just thought that that was interesting. And then apparently he went to go work for the phone company. But forget all that. Don't forget it, apparently. I told you for a reason. So just so we could be clear, Troy Ave arrested right after this happened. Boom. Right? Right after it happens, Troy Ave gets arrested. Just so we could be clear. May 26, 2016. Right? So he stays in jail for about 2 months. And then after about 2 months, he bails out on $500,000, right? So he bails out on $500,000. And then he has his first meeting, just so we can be clear, with the DA's office on February 8th. Now, when they asked him his reasoning for this, just so we can be clear, why he was in, he was in for 2 months. Yeah, we got that clear. Y'all told me yesterday. When y'all told me, I believed you. I just was like, they said it was 6 months before he started working with them. And I'm guessing 6 months from July or whatever the hell month. It's like February or some shit. Any which way. February 8th, he then started, he had a meeting with them. He didn't actually start working with them yet. There was a meeting. There was no signed agreement in order. I just want to be clear about that. There was no signed agreement at this part. They had just had a meeting, and there was a discussion. And it was like, we want you to do some things. He said, what? They said, tell him. He said, obviously, you know that was a skit. I'm going to get to the part. Give me 1 second. So, not until April, I believe it was in April 26, 2017, that's when they actually signed the papers and he agreed that he was going to work with them. Now, I want to be clear on this. Pay attention. When they asked him why this was a thing, and I'm going to tell you now, even though he says it a little bit later, he brings up a letter that TAXSTONE's lawyer sent to the judge. And I want to say something real quick. I need to stop it right here just so we can go over this real quick. I'm not saying TAXSTONE's lawyer did or didn't, but we all remember the letter that allegedly went to the judge from TAXSTONE's lawyer. I believe there was also a point when TAXSTONE said he didn't even necessarily tell his lawyer to do that. It's just something that ended up happening. And obviously, we know that Montgomery Esquire is the lawyer. I'm assuming that's the lawyer that did it. So, yeah, we all remember that that happened. And shortly after that is when we heard, just so we could give a little, bit of insight, that is what we had heard at that time. So as far as these numbers work, it sounds about right. 10 minutes. So as far as those numbers go, it sounds about right. I just want to point that out. But just so we can be clear, I'm going to tell you some of the crimes that Troy Ave said that he was a part of before this situation happened. And one of the main reasons why I'm telling the crimes is because when he was saying these crimes in court, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to tell you what was happening. When he was telling these crimes in court, there was people in the gallery, and they was like, "Oh man," like they didn't believe him. I'm not saying that he did do these crimes. I'm not saying that he didn't. He has told the government that he is a part of those crimes that I'm about to tell you about. But in any regard, so anyway, apparently in 2003 he was arrested for possession of a gun, a youthful offender. Is that the BB gun later? So a gun in 2003, he was arrested as with a possession of a gun. He took a plea, youthful offender. He went to a program, case got dismissed and sealed. Bang, that's out of here. He was a juvenile 2003. I'm old. Anyway, 2005 to 2009, driving suspended license. He paid the fine. Early 2002. I'm not. Don't ask me why these is not in order, by the way. Early 2002, he sold some drugs. He's not really sure what year. I think whatever. Then he said that's when his music took off. So he was like, stop selling so many drugs, I guess, around that time. But in 2013, he sold kilos of coke. That's what he says. And then he says his music took off, so he stopped selling. And then apparently, you know what? 2007, he got in trouble for a BB gun. I don't know how that works. But in 2007, he got in trouble for a BB gun. 2019, I mean, July 19th, in the 2000s. And then there's a list of stuff. So hold on. Let me look at this real quick. I'm telling you all the crimes real quick. So he said he was in a shootout and he got hit, but he didn't hit no one. Then he shot off the roof. They was like, "Yo, do you ever did stuff you should have got in trouble for," or some shit like that. And then that's when he said some shit like that. Right? So there was when he was a Crip when he was a kid. From when he was 15 to 18, but he's not saying he was a Crip. This is what he basically said, though. He said, "Yo, look, those was my homies, and I hung out with them. So since I hung out with them, and they was all Crip, he became, he was just Crip by osmosis. He was a Crip relative. How does that? Cause so he was a Crip apparently." Because he hung out with the Crips. So, I guess that does happen, though, on some real shit, though. Like, you will be hanging out with some people. Now, all of a sudden, their beef is your beef. If you hanging out with somebody, hold on. We making jokes and everything. But when you hanging out with somebody, their beef is your Crip beef. When you hanging out with somebody, their beef is your beef, right? If you hanging out with somebody every day, if they getting money and you hanging with them every day, you probably getting money too, and vice versa, right? So, I'm just saying. Anyway, in any regard, his friends was Crips, so he followed and ended up in a gang. That's how he explained himself being part of a gang. Hold down the block, they was fighting, robbing, small times drug dealers. That's what he said they was doing. They were just doing kid shit. Anyway, He got charged for attempt murder May 25th, 2016. The charge that currently TAXSTONE is fighting. He was arrested immediately. So he said that he was arrested. The situation happened on the 25th. He said he was arrested on the 26th. It was like they got him straight from the hospital. They said they took him to the hospital, they took the bullet out, and then they just shot him up with some drugs, and they sent him to the cops. I'm telling you, that's what it sounded like happened. In any regard, he was charged for the attempt murder, arrested immediately. The incident began inside the VIP room. He got shot in both legs. Look, he's saying the story first, right? Not charged for anything that happened inside the VIP room. He was remanded and in jail for 2 months. He didn't speak to the DA at that time because he didn't know what to do. He was like, yo, I didn't know if this was a street thing or internet thing. So then him and his own lawyers going backwards for a minute. This guy, man. In any regard, he was like, yo, I didn't know if this was a street thing or an internet thing. But it wasn't like they was going back and forth as much as she was kind of giving him latitude to explain his answers. I'll say that much. So, doing a great job, by the way. She was doing a great job. This is in no way criticism. Didn't speak to the DA because he didn't know what to do. He didn't know if it was a street thing or internet thing. I guess if it was an internet, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. So if it was an internet thing, somebody got shot and killed, right? I don't understand what that means, but okay. Like, if it was an internet thing, ain't it a street thing now? Like, I don't understand. I'm confused. Somebody put it in the chat and explain to me where I'm going wrong with this. If it was an internet thing, it is a street thing now, right? Am I wrong? Everybody that likes somebody, rat bastards, we ain't doing this. But hold on, am I wrong? Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. I didn't understand that. That didn't make any sense to me. If anybody could explain how that makes sense, and I'm not, I'm not criticizing him or nothing like that. I'm not going at him or nothing like that. I'm not over here doing that. But I'm just saying, somebody explain to me how that makes sense. I mean, I don't know what was going on over there. Anyway, in any regard, he said, so look, so I just told y'all what happened, right? So he just said what happened, basically, right? So, all right, so we ain't get it all to it. Anyway, he said July 11th, 2016, the DA gave a bail package with an ankle monitor. He immediately paid the bail and was released. He did not meet with the DA immediately after that. February 2017, the bail was modified. That's when he met with them. The bail was modified. I know, I agreed with you yesterday, JRA. The bail was modified so he could perform, like work and move around, and he had to have a licensed armed security because spring 2017, they removed the ankle monitor. He went out of the country. That's why I'm assuming they have removed the ankle monitor because they gave him permission to go out of the country. He went out of the country. Oh, no, they did not give him permission. He actually violated bail by doing that. So they took the ankle monitor off, and this dude immediately jumped on a jet. What in the hell, fam? Hold on. So he went out of the country. He went out of the country, but he violated his bail conditions. He was not supposed to be going out of the country. Let's just be clear on that. In any regard, February 8th, 2017, we're going backwards now, but I don't know why. So February 8th, 2017 is when he first met with the DA, just so we could be clear. The people around him convinced him that it was not a street thing. So basically, he said he spoke to some clergy, like he specifically, I believe, said like his pastor, and he has a neighbor, and the neighbor is and his neighbor is a Jewish neighbor, and he's don't ask me why. I'm just absolutely, my brain is not working right now. But his neighbor also gave him a little bit, who he holds a high esteem, also gave him some advice, and the advice was to go work with the government. So on February 8th, 2017, he met with the DA, and he finally agreed that he'd do the things. I don't do all of the things. Then April 26th, then April 26, 2017, he met with the DA to discuss the case and made a cooperation agreement. April 2026, pardon me, is when he signed the cooperation agreement. April 2026. And then they brought in People's 279. That's the actual plea agreement that he signed. They said, "What's this?" He said, "This is my agreement to do all of the things." So that's People's Evidence 279. And then just so we can be clear, they asked him if he was to get in trouble, if if he didn't sign the plea agreement, basically, what would be the consequences? And basically, he would have got indicted for attempted murder, second degree, and second degree weapons possession. He was going to get indicted for that. And also, there was 2 counts of criminal possession of a weapon, and I think 2 counts of firing on the outside of your home or place of business having a weapon. So, because one of the guns he fired, and the other gun is the one that he actually just had outside of his place of business that they found in the vehicle. That's what I'm assuming that meant. In any regard, that would have got him 5.5 to 25 years. That's what that right there would have been for. And then they also said specifically the 3 weapons, just so we could be clear. I mean, 25 years is for the indictment, pardon me, for the attempted murder, second degree, weapons possession, second degree. That's 5 to 25. So the weapons possession altogether for each weapon, it was 3.5 to 15 for each weapon, and it was 3 weapons. So for each weapon, it was 3.5 to 15. He pled guilty to all of this stuff, by the way. He pled guilty to everything. He said, "Look, I'm gonna sign these papers over here. You's gonna gives me everything, and then I'm just gonna have everything, and then I'm just gonna tell you's everything." And then he did. The prosecution's office recommend 1 year in jail if he does everything he's supposed to do. The prosecution's office is gonna recommend 1 year in jail. He'll allowed to plea to an attempted possession of a weapon, and that goes from 0 to 7 years. So you know what that's gonna happen over here. And he has to give complete and truthful testimony, or he will be sentenced to what has already, or to everything that he's already pled guilty to. He can receive the agreement even if the defendant is found guilty. We talked about that yesterday. Even if not guilty, pardon me. Even if TAXSTONE is found not guilty, he still is supposed to get his jump off. So he's like, "Yo, look, man." Like, what are you talking about? I did what you told me to do, right? All of the things. In any regard, he was encouraged to do the music. He said he was encouraged to do music to get out of the streets. Apparently, one of his friends' older brother was doing music. One of his friends' older brother was doing music. And he would go into the studio, and he wasn't really into that, you know what I'm saying? But then he got into it. And anyway, he made his own mixtape, you know, because he started getting better. So he made his own mixtape, and he was trying to get on the DJ's mixtape where you know, so he could get seen. You pay like $2,500 every song, to get your song on, but he ain't had that. So he took that money, made his own mixtape, and then he saw how he was still making money, like he was making money off the shit. You know what I mean? So he kept doing it in any regard. But he still was selling drugs because it's Troy Ave. You got to sell all of the drugs. So he didn't stop selling the drugs when he started doing the mixtapes. He was still selling the drugs. He said in like he sold like eight balls. He sold eight balls. Pardon me. He sold 8 balls. He never stopped making the mixtapes. He made enough money. Then he stopped selling drugs. Like when his money came in, he stopped selling drugs. Then they mentioned 2 albums, I'm in Traffic and Back in My Backpack. 2013, his music career started taking off. 2014, he was on an XXL Freshman. He was like on the cover, the XXL Freshman. In early 2000 is when they started the label BSB, apparently. But it wasn't really the label. That was like, you know how it is. That was just his dudes. They started that in early 2000, and then obviously they didn't transfer that name or that representation of that name over into their record label, and that was BSB, Brick Star Boys. Also, he said he doesn't only rap about drugs, he raps about ambition and hustling, street stuff. He agrees that he raps about violence, but not senseless violence. He raps about all of the violence, except for the senseless violence. And he said all music starts from a foundation of truth, so he's not capping when he rap, but it's not all the way truthful. Like he starts from a place of truth, and then he expands on that. I guess to the not truth. I don't know, but I guess that's what everybody do, right? All right, so hold on, not licensed security. So then they agree that Banga's not licensed security. He knew Banga since they was in high school, and Banga was like the everything guy for him. He was like really helpful, basically, he said, and a good person. He basically said he was everything guy for him. He was his workout guy. He was his eat healthy guy. He was get his music played guy. He acted security guy. Anything that he needed done, he said that Benga would do. And then around 2012, that's when he first knew about TAXSTONE. So now right here is when we're gonna start talking about him and TAXSTONE. R.I.P. Benga. Right here is when we're about to talk about his situation with TAXSTONE, just so y'all can understand how this is like separated. So right here, he's about to start talking about his situation with TAXSTONE. So he says around 2012, that's when he first came to know of TAXSTONE. He didn't know who the guy was. He didn't. Around 2012, TAXSTONE had tweeted, and he was in a mention. Then he replied back. And then he said to him in the tweets, that's how most rappers end up in wheelchairs. He said TAXSTONE tweeted back to him, that's how most rappers end up in wheelchairs, or that's how rappers end up in wheelchairs. And then Troy started talking about how he was harassed. And he basically was like, yo, this dude is constantly harassing. And then he was like, just so we can be clear. So they're like, he said that later. I'll get to when he said that later. So it was like constantly harassing. I'll get to that later. him and Esquire go at it over this. Like real talk. Him and Esquire go at it over this. For real. I was like, wait, hold on over here. They went at it over this. So shout out to the 419 people we got in the room. Everybody hit that like button so we can send out some notifications. I appreciate all of y'all. Salute. Yeah, so him and Esquire got in it over this. So I wait until that happens. I wait until we get to when him and Esquire talk. Tell you about what happened. But that was wild. Wild turkey. Anyway, so he says that it was tweets, right? So he said that he was harassment, that it wasn't Yeah, he was bullying him. It was like constant harassment, always mentioning him, and it was not just personal. And pardon me, it was not just professional. It was also like on a personal basis, right? And then he said, and this was before the podcast, just so we could be clear. This is before the podcast. The podcast did not exist at this point. This is all the way 100% before the podcast, is what he's saying. There was no podcast at this point. Just so we could be clear, I'm assuming that that was the one of the things that the prosecution wanted to get over. And I have to say, the way that this has been set up, in my opinion, got it over pretty well, is that their opinion of chain of events is the chain of events they are saying happening. I'm not saying what the real chain of events are. I wasn't there. But the chain of events that they are saying is happening is TAXSTONE had already, before he even had a podcast, been talking about Troy Ave. So therefore, that's how he's trying to say it was constant harassment. Now, I'm just telling you what the prosecution is trying to get over to the jury. You can do what you want with it. He said the first time they met, they was at like a Brooklyn bowling alley or something like that, right? So apparently, this is wild. So apparently Troy Ave is like, yo, so I was already in the bowling alley. It was me and my goons. He ain't say all that. But he was like, he was already in the bowling alley and they had a mutual friend. So the mutual friend had knew TAXSTONE was outside about to come into the bowling alley, right? Just so we could be clear. So he was in the bowling alley already, and the mutual friend came up to him and was like, you know, is it cool if TAXSTONE, you know what I'm saying, he outside, like, boom. So he said that he was like, you know, he don't care. It is what it is or some shit. I don't know, but he didn't care. So TAXSTONE comes in and he says that they spoke and TAXSTONE apologized. So like I said before, I'm not telling you any of this is the truth at all. What I'm saying is this is what this dude said. So don't argue at me. I just want to be clear on this. I say what you want in the chat about this, but don't argue at me. I'm not saying this. That's what this dude said. I'm just telling you. So what he said was, they was at a bowling alley. He was hanging with some of his friends. One of the dudes was cool with Tax. For some reason, Tax was at the building about to come inside. The way he made it sound is I guess Tax was outside sitting in the car and they was on the jack talking. And he was like, yo, should I come in? Because he said Tax was waiting outside. I don't think the nigga walked up to the front of the door and looked inside and shit. It was like, oh shit, this nigga here. And they called him. He was probably just sitting in the whip. He was probably just sitting in the whip. So, just so we could be clear. He told Tax come inside, the mutual friend. So when he comes inside, Troy Ave said they had a conversation and Tax apologized. Now, I don't know what to tell you, because he said the negative tweets started all over again. So he made it sound like Tax was apologizing to him to his face, and then when he wasn't around him, he was just doing whatever he was doing. Because he said that he came, saw him, apologized about the shit, and then went right back to the negative tweets, like immediately. And then he said, look, this is what he said. Don't get mad at me. If I'm not telling if I get anything wrong, please tell me in the chat. If anybody was there, I get anything wrong, please say it in the chat. In any regard. Then he says in 2014, he saw a video shoot he saw him at a video shoot for Mano. So Meek Mill couldn't make it for some reason. I don't know why, but Meek Mill apparently couldn't make it. But Mano, it was a video shoot, I guess, for Mano and Meek Mill song. I don't know what to tell you. So he apparently had saw him there. It was like head nods or whatever, but it wasn't nobody confronting nobody. And then in 2015, he dropped a diss song at TAXSTONE and he called it Lower Level Nutsack. So at this point of the trial, but I don't even remember who did it. I don't know if it was the judge or the freaking prosecution. I think it was the judge. Was like, wait, no, it wasn't the judge. It was the stenographer. So when he said lower level nutsack, the stenographer didn't know what he said. So the stenographer, I think, was like, I didn't hear him, judge. So she asked him because she, like the whole trial, she was telling people, stenographer was pretty busy today. I'm just telling you what it is. The stenographer was busy. She was using her fingers. She was using her voice. She had to tell people to shut up. Not shut up, like literally. I guess, yeah. She had to tell people to shut up. And she also had to tell people to talk louder. She had to tell people y'all can't talk at the same time. Like, it was crazy. She got to type that shit, yo. In any regard. They asked him, the judge ends up asking him, what did you say? And he said, nutsack. So everybody starts laughing. Oh man. There's people in the jury laughing. We laughing. Everybody laughing. Because he says nutsack. And then I think he says nutsack, Your Honor. I'm telling you, that shit was funny. Like, yo, fam, what's going on over here? And she was like, I couldn't hear him, Judge. What did he say? And the judge was like, I don't know. And then I'm not sure if it was, like I said, I'm not sure if it was the prosecution or the, but somebody said the prosecution too. Hold on. Hold on. Ark, shout out to Ark, salute. He said they both asked them in the jury, and then the judge asked. I told you. So I am remembering this shit right. I am remembering this shit right. Right? So yeah. So they everybody asked him apparently, and he said low and level nutsack. And then he said nutsack, Your Honor. Yeah, I'm trying to tell you. I don't know what was going on. I don't know what to tell you, fam. I could have swore he said that. Didn't he say that shit? I could have swore he said nutsack, Your Honor. So everybody started laughing. Everybody started laughing. Like, what the hell, fam? And then he explained it, by the way. Also, I did. He explained it. You know, like when somebody, like when they on your nutsack, he started explaining that shit. That was crazy. I'm sitting there. I promise you, this is what happened. I promise you. Hold on. For anybody that was in there today, am I exaggerating, or is this really what happened? It was crazy. I don't know what to tell you. The judge started laughing, the jury started laughing, we was laughing, and Troy Ave was sitting there pretty much stone faced, because that's the name of the fucking album. Nutsack. Low level nutsack. Anyway, he said, basically, yeah, that's the title of the song. That's the song, that's the diss song to TAXSTONE. So basically, Troy Ave was using his music to get back at TAXSTONE because TAXSTONE was using his tweets. TAXSTONE's forum of expertise, or where he gets his groove going, is through his tweets, through his media. TAXSTONE was using his social media to attack Troy Ave. So Troy Ave's comeback is basically what he was describing in court, was him making songs going back at TAXSTONE. I don't know if TAXSTONE laughed, man. I couldn't see him from here. So he said the constant tweets and harassment, and that's why he actually wrote. And then he said this shit again. Lower level nutsack. Shout out to Mike Jones. Salute. So Yeah, he said the name of the damn song or the album, whatever the hell the shit is. He said it a ton of times. I don't know what to tell you. Like he said it a ton of times. Like as far as I can remember, it was like he couldn't get enough of it. I don't know what to tell you. Let's hit that like button, send out some notifications. In any regard, the tweets that he was doing, now he wasn't doing tweets no more. He was doing tweets, but he was also doing interviews. So he said, yeah, he was doing interviews talking about me now. So he not only was doing tweets, he said, Joe, this is my career. He said, this is how, he make his money now. So he's holding on to it and trying to fight for it with dear life. And TAXSTONE, who at this time is bigger than Troy Ave, I guess, probably even if it's not in the New York sense, he has a little bit further reach because at this time, I believe he's like on, I don't know if he's on MTV yet, so I'm not going to go there. But you get what I'm trying to say. So he felt the way. He said he had feuds with other artists that he was beefing with, but not at this level. Remember, at this point, he's talking to the prosecutor. So the prosecutor isn't trying to find him doing nothing wrong. We go to a break. Jury comes back. We go to a regular break. Jury comes back. Then he said on May 25th, 2016, now they're talking about the actual event. Remember, I told you all of those other things was about his relationship with TAXSTONE. So that was basically, we just went through his relationship with TAXSTONE. They started around 2012. And, everybody knows. So that's basically what we just spoke about for the last couple of minutes. That was his relationship with TAXSTONE. Now he's about to talk about what actually happened at the event. Just so he said May 2016, he was actually in the studio. They had like a thing going on. They had like a party where he was like playing music for like DJs or whatever the case might be. So he was having an event at his studio before they went there. The event lasted from about 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. He had his artists over there because it was an event for his label. So he had his artists over there, and he only maybe had like a drink because apparently they only had vodka for some strange reason, and he doesn't really like vodka. So he only had about one drink at the most. He wasn't really drinking. He says it was for the artists of the label, his team, basically. And then they bring out People's Exhibit 293, 293, and it's a photo of Block, Benga, Hovain, and Scheme. Those were people that he was at the event with, including Young Lito. Anyway, any regard. So then they went to Irving Plaza because T.I. had him as a special invited guest. He said, Joe, him and T.I., they so tight. He said, him and T.I., we tight like this. Any regard. He didn't do that, by the way. So he said him and T.I. is pretty tight. T.I. had tried to sign him before, but he didn't sign with T.I. But even though he didn't sign with T.I., there was still always a relationship there. So whenever he goes to Atlanta, he goes and, T.I. pull up on where he's at. And whenever T.I. comes to New York, T.I. call him out. So apparently, this is one of those situations where T.I. had a thing going on. And, that's how you make money. Like, yo, that's my homie. I'm pulling up to his city. I want him on my bill so he get paid. You understand what I'm saying? That's how that go, right? So T.I. called out, just so y'all can understand, he can't be capping. Not on this, because that's how that go. So he called out T.I. to be on his bill. So T.I. called him out to be on his bill, put some money, so he get paid also. Boom, right? So he was a special invited guest. I don't even know if he's getting paid, by the way, but he's a special invited guest. T.I.'s gonna get called to the stage. So T.I. gets called. I don't even know. Just so we can be clear, I don't know if he got paid for the event. Okay, Rusty, stop. I don't know if he got paid for the event, just so we can be clear. What I'm saying is this. His point was when he goes to Atlanta, T.I. calls him out. When he calls T.I. out to whatever his event is. When T.I. comes to New York, T.I. calls him out. When you go do events, whether they're paying you money right then and there, that's always promotion for your brand. So I'm just saying that means that T.I. fucks with him. That's what I'm saying. Just so we can be clear. I'm not trying to add anything. T.I. fuck with him. If you know how the industry work, if somebody pull up to your town, they fuck with you. Tell me where the lie at. Tell me where the lie at. In any regard. He didn't expect to see Tax at Irving Plaza. He had no idea. Remember, Tax was, he just came because he came. He had no idea that TAXSTONE was going to be there. And the reason why he had no idea that TAXSTONE was going to be there, just so we could be clear, the reason why is because TAXSTONE previously before that had not pulled up to any events that he had been at. So this wasn't a situation where him and TAXSTONE see each other often. You understand? This isn't one of those situations. He said on the stand, never before seen Tax at an event like this that he attends. That's what he said on the stand. If you don't believe what he said on the stand, that's between you and him. It got shit to do with me. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you what he said on the stand. If you got a problem with what he said on the stand, that's between you and him over there. I don't got nothing to do with it. In any regard. They drove to the event, Block, Banger, Hovain, Scheme, and Leo. Lito. Why did I write Leo? Because I was just writing the exact words that I heard. So Block, Banger, Hovain, Scheme, Lito, they all drove to the event in the vehicle that they checked and had the guns in. They drove to the event with a 38 and with a 9mm Taurus. That's what they drove to the event with, period. Then they talked about the trap that was in the video, in the jump off. And basically had a trap in the vehicle installed less than 2 years before the Irving Plaza situation. It was for hiding money, jewelry, and weapons. They said it had guns for protection, wasn't at the point where he was hiring security. So he had to have, the reason why they had the guns, because, they running around with money and drugs and jewelry. Money and jewelry. If you're rolling around with money and jewelry, you got to have guns, basically. And you kind of do. Let's just say what it is, right? Let's just say what it is. So he had guns for protection. That's all that those guns was for. Because, he wasn't at a point where he could hire security. He said Banger would bring guns in the venues that lack security or had association with local thugs. So when they went to the places, the venues that, they didn't have good security, they knew the security was BS, Banger would walk in with the guns. That's what he said. And then he also said when they go to the places where they know there's a big association, the local gang is actually the people who run the spot. He said Banger would then also carry the gun in that situation. But he never fired it before. They never had a situation where he had to fire it. After the situation happened, involving the events of May 25th, 2016, Troy Ave said he figured he'd take the murder charge and try to beat the murder charge. And then the other guys would take the gun charges. And he explained it in court like this. He explained it in court like this. When you the dude that is the bag, you make all the money and everybody else is eating. When a situation happens like this, then he's going to take the bigger charge, which is the murder charge. He's going to try to beat that. And you guys got to take the gun charges. It was 2 guns. Remember, the third gun, he's not getting in trouble for the possession of the gun. He's getting in trouble for shooting the gun. If he would have never shot the gun, but they would have found that gun, he wouldn't be in trouble. It would still only be in trouble for the 2 guns. Copy? So, he had told them, Hovain and Lito, to take responsibility for the 2 guns. Lito straight up said, no. He said, if you ask me again, I'm going to go tell the district attorney. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to laugh at this. I'm not trying to laugh at this. I don't blame. I just think that sounds like absolute insanity. I just think it sounds funny. I don't know if it really happened. Maybe it didn't happen at all. I'm not saying it happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. All I'm saying is this. This is all I'm saying. He said, Joe, if you ask me again, I'm going to go tell the district attorney. That's what he said happened. That's what he said happened. No cap. So apparently, there's going to be a discrepancy, but the discrepancy isn't my fault. Just pay attention to every time I tell you the story. Okay? The discrepancy is not my fault. Okay? So if you hear discrepancies, it's not my fault. I want to be clear about this. So then he said Hovain was gonna take the gun charge. For everybody that don't know, R.I.P. Hovain. Hovain isn't with us anymore. He said Hovain, at this point of his testimony, he said Hovain was gonna take the gun charge. He said young Lito ain't taking any charge or any gun. And he told Troy that he'd tell the DA about all the guns. You don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Oh, man. I don't know what to tell you. That's what he said he said. I'm not saying he said it. As far as I know, he said none of these things. Or he said all of these things. I have no idea. In any regard, he said that hip-hop, they asked him why he didn't bring his guns into the building. She was like, okay, so you had these guns on you, right? Why didn't you bring, if anybody was there and I'm getting any of this wrong, put it in the chat. Let me know. I want to know what I'm getting wrong. Copy? So for the people who was there, if I'm getting any of this wrong, put it in the chat. I want to know what I'm getting wrong. Let's clarify that. Because I might have heard wrong. I don't think I heard wrong, though, in any regard. After they spoke about the guns, because she's doing this all in sections. So after they spoke about the guns, just so we can be clear, This is the aspect where they're talking about what actually happened at the club. So she's also breaking this down and doing a very good job of it, breaking this down into segments. So she asked him, why didn't he bring the guns in the event? Because he said he's never brought any guns. Manolo, salute. He said he's never brought any guns into Irving Plaza before. He says the other times that he's been to Irving Plaza, he's never brought any guns in there. There was never really a need for it. When he was asked why there wasn't a need for it, why wouldn't he bring his guns in Irving Plaza? He said, well, early on, the hip hop police pulled up on him, basically. Yeah, so he said basically the hip hop police pulled up on him. And they had a little conversation with him. And so he decided he didn't want to have any problems with him. So what he would do is, when he was going to any event, he'd call the hip hop police and tell him where he was at. I'm telling you what he said, man. I don't know. Look, this is what his testimony was. The hip hop police deterred him from bringing guns in Irving Plaza. He didn't want issues with them. He spoke with them to let them know where he was. That's what he said. I'm not adding anything either. As you can say, I have not at all, not in any way, added any extra energy to that particular line that I just read. I'll say this again, just so we can be clear, and I'm going to move on. When he was asked why he didn't bring guns in the Irving Plaza, one, he said, you know, he felt okay with the security, I'm assuming. But the main reason is because the hip hop police had pulled up on him early. And he got a rapport with them to the point where when he goes and does a show, he calls them to let them know where he at. I don't know what anybody else is doing with how they telling y'all what happened in court. I'm telling you what I heard. That's it. I'm telling you what I heard. When Troy Ave do shows in New York City, he calls the hip hop police so they know where he's at. They know he's doing a show. So if they know that there's a show going on over there, they basically pull up and they're being the damn security one way or the other. You might have undercovers in the building sometime, I'm assuming. I think they alluded to that. I'm not 100% sure. But basically, the police know, the hip hop police know when he's doing an event, and they basically do security there. Just so we can be clear. And just so we can slow up, is police always outside of Irving Plaza? How long has it been where police are always outside of Irving Plaza? Are police always outside of Irving Plaza? Every time Irving Plaza has a show, is police out there? I'm asking. Somebody here got to know. I'm just asking. Because I don't know. I would like to know. Well, if anybody knows, let me know. Are they out there every single time there's a show? Simp Down says for hip hop, yeah. So whenever there's a hip hop show, the hip hop police pull up outside. Take with that however you want. He said he calls them. He says he said he called them. If you have a problem with what he said, that's between you and him. I can't argue what he said. So I'm not trying to argue what he said. Tweet him. I don't know what to tell you. That's what he said. In any regard. He lets the hip hop police know he was going to Irving Plaza. He says that specifically. So you could do what you want with that. You could say that, I don't know how you're gonna argue that with me. But he said specifically, he told the police he was gonna be at Irving Plaza. The hip hop police. Yes, he did say Hovain called them. Shout out to Ark. But they told him, just so we could be clear, he did say Hovain told him. That's correct. But they told him. Look, that's the first thing I even got a little off. Hovain called them. But just so we could be clear, he did say he called them. And then after the prosecutor asked him did he call personally, then he said Hovain. Am I correct or am I wrong? So at 9:30, he arrived at Irving Plaza. They entered through the side entrance. He said he's only been there a couple of times. He's assuming that's the artist entrance. He saw the police presence. He saw the police presence outside. He was not aware of any police in the building, though. That's why I'm like, was he trying to allude that them niggas be coming in the building, like in disguise? Like, that's the first thing that went through my brain. Like, do these dudes be in the building in disguise? Yes. At first, he said he told them. And then she asked him to clarify. And then he said, Hovain. I don't know. I think he said he was calling them because they pulled up on him early. Like early in him doing rap and doing shows. They pulled up on him. So he said he ain't want no problems with the hip hop police. So he was just dealing with them like business. You understand? So when he was going to go do a thing, he hit him up like, yo, I'm going to go do a thing. So they might already always be there. And that's why I was asking. You understand? That's why I was asking. Are they always there? Because he called them anyway. Just so we can be clear. I don't know if they always there. But in any regard, he called them. Or he had Hovain call them, or Hovain called them on his own is what he's saying. In any regard, Hovain called them, but basically his team called them. Anyway, it goes on to say he entered Irving Plaza with Block, Banger, B-Boy, Young Lido, and Scheme. That's the names he called out that he said he entered the building with. Block, Banger, B-Boy, Young Lido, and Scheme. They met with T.I.'s camp because T.I.'s camp actually came outside to get him. Shout out to Art, D-Glass. I have no idea who Scheme and B-Boy is. What the hell? How do I know? I'm just telling you what he said. So he said that T.I.'s team came downstairs to get him. That's what he said. T.I.'s team came downstairs and then they got him and then they came inside. He said they went to the second level by the stage, above the stage area. Then they went past the bar to the VIP room. And then they was heading through, like that's the route they had to go in order to perform. That's the way he explained it. He said the VIP was small, was packed, and it was like 80 people in there. Small, and it was like 80 people. He said, what up to people and took pictures. So he pulled up, and people was like, you know, they fuck with Troy at that point. He's saying niggas was fucking with him. So he pulled up, and niggas was like, Troy. He was like, you. And then they was like dapping each other up. They probably wasn't doing all that though, but they was dapping each other up. You know what I'm saying? Whatever the case is. So then he said at that point he heard somebody say what's popping, but he ain't paying no attention because he over here, yeah, you know, he's over here saying what's up to his people. So he heard somebody like say, yo, what's popping? But he ain't paying no attention. And then he said he heard it again, yo, it's popping. And then he heard Banger say, yo, it's popping. And then that's when it caught his attention that that voice that he heard saying was popping was talking to them. And he said he knew he should have knew something was wrong because when he came in the damn room that he saw Casanova, and he didn't see, did he say Casanova or Mano? I think he said Casanova. And that's how he knew when he heard the what's up that they was talking to him and who it could possibly be. Because he didn't know that TAXSTONE would be there. So apparently he was saying he was saying TAXSTONE and Casanova is I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. He said he saw Casanova and figured that was TAXSTONE that said what's popping when he heard the voice and he thought about it. I'm just telling you what he said. I'm going to read it exactly what I wrote. He said he was halfway in the room at this point. He heard what's popping. He ignored it. He heard it twice. He ignored it. Then he heard Banger say it. And he knew there was an issue. And he figured out whose voice it was and saw him reach towards gesturing about a gun. So when he turned around and actually did see him, and I guess he turned around and see him like, like it'd be the close-in view thing. And he turned around and it was like, he's like going for the gun or some shit. I don't know. That's the way it sounded. So apparently, pardon me, somebody lost their life here. This is not a joke. But the way he said that he turned around and he saw him reaching for the gun and it wasn't a gesture. He saw him reach. They said, did you see a gun? He said he did not see a gun at that point. He said he only saw the gesture of reaching. He only saw the motion of somebody reaching. He said at this point, he did not see a gun. He only saw the motion of reaching. He says at that point, hold on, we got to go back because that's the way they told the story. So then apparently, either before he gestured, because Banger might not have saw him gesture, I don't know, because he said he did not see a gun. He just saw a gesture, a motion like he was going for it or whatever. At that point, he said Banger turns to him and says, yo, I'm a rocker. And Troy winks. And then when Troy winks, Tax reaches and he's about to pull. And then he said, Troy reaches for the gun, but first he hit TAXSTONE. So I don't know how this worked because I heard them trying to describe it, but we'll get to it later. Because Mr. Esquire had a lot to talk. He asked them, well, they was going back and forth on this for a minute. So the prosecution is still talking to him, by the way. So apparently, Troy reached for the gun, but first he hit TAXSTONE. He hit him like bam. And then as he hit him, he grabbed for the gun with the other hand, but he wasn't able to grab the gun. And then there was like a big commotion, and he got knocked down. So he hit him, and then when he went to grab the gun, he lost his balance, and he got knocked down. So then he got knocked down. But not on his back, like on his side. And he was on top of people. So apparently, when he fell, there was people already that was down there. So he fell on people. And then Benga and Tax was tussling. Benga had Tax by the shoulders. And when Benga had Tax by the shoulders, that's when he see a large light, a flash go off. He said they was close, like when you do high school wrestling. They was crouched down like this. This is what Troy said. This is what he said on the stand. You can't argue me his words. Just so we can be clear. Y'all can talk about it in the chat. You can't argue me his words. He said they was tussling. Benga had him by the shoulders. And they were crouched down and bent over. It looked like high school wrestling. He said then he saw the spark go off, the shot go off because there was a spark of light. And he could tell that it was directed towards the door or was coming from the door. And it was going towards Benga. He said there wasn't even an arm's length between the two of them. He said the spark headed towards the door in Benga's direction. So the door was in back of Benga. He started fighting with Tax again. That might be the bullet that they pulled out the wall. There is a item. I forgot what his people's. I don't want to go through the list of. I'm gonna have to make a list. But apparently there's a block of wood that one of the bullets was embedded in, and I think they swabbed it. They swabbed it for DNA. So I've been wondering where it's from. Maybe it was from the wall. I always thought it could have been from the floor. In any regard, he sees the light from the spark in between Tax and Benga. They're not even arm distance between them. The spark headed towards the door in Benga direction. When that happened, he jumped back to his feet because all of this happened simultaneously. He got knocked over, and as he got knocked over, that's when they locked up. This is what he's saying. That's when they got locked up. And when they got locked up is when the spark went off. This is the prosecution getting this out of him, by the way. He hasn't spoken to the defense team yet. So as they got locked up, that's when he saw the spark. And as soon as he saw the spark, he jumped back to his feet. When he jumped back to his feet, he began fighting with TAXSTONE. And he pulled Tax to the ground, and Tax slipped out. So the first time he grabbed Tax, Tax slipped free, and Troy was on the ground. And when he was on the ground, he said Tax turned to go towards one of the doors, and then he turned back around, and he shot at him when he was on the floor. Troy said he put his leg up like this. I couldn't see him all the way, but he said he put his leg up. The bullet went through one leg and it embedded in the other. The whole thing happens with Esquire and Troy about this. We're going to get to that in a minute. All right, they did a whole thing in court. It made no sense. It was just craziness. So Esquire put his shirt down so Troy Ave could demonstrate. I'm not trying to laugh. I'm sorry that this stuff is happening and is wild bananas. I don't know what to tell you. But apparently Esquire put his coat on the floor. So I'll tell y'all what happened when we get to Esquire. Him and Esquire was just going at it. I'm like, yo, what the fuck, man? Part of my language. Part of my language. I'm like, yo, what the heck, fam? They was just going at it. So he pulled the gun on him. Tax slipped out. Troy, somehow he got on the ground. Tax fires. Troy lifts up his leg because he's trying to protect his face, I'm assuming. He gets hit in the leg and get hit in the other leg. At that time, he didn't know if he got shot twice or once. He just know he got hit in both of his legs. Any regard. Now he gets up and he gets a hold of Tax. And they fighting for the gun. Now the way he explains it is, he explains it later. So I'll wait until we get to that part. Because he explains it different ways in all of these explanations, by the way. The lights went out. Then Tax fired more shots. So this is his story. This is not me saying this. So don't say Jack said this. I'm telling you what he said on the stand. So then he said that the lights went out and Tax fired more shots. And Troy puts his finger, he's trying to stop him from shooting because he's firing the shots, but the gun is near his face. The gun is near his face. So he's trying to keep the gun away from his face. Basically, he said TAXSTONE head was like about right here. This is where TAXSTONE's head is. This is what he said, yo. TAXSTONE head was about right here, and he had his arm wrapped around him like this, and he had his other arm like around the head, and he had his hand on the gun. So they fighting for the gun like this over here, right? Boom. They fighting for the gun over here. So then he says TAXSTONE fired 2 more shots, apparently. Now, also remember, these dudes is on the ground. I don't think they was standing straight up. They was on the ground in the spooning position. So they on the ground like this, fighting for the gun like that, like what I just told you. This is what he said, fam. They was on the ground. They wasn't standing straight up. It was on the ground, so it don't matter how tall each one of them is. Height don't matter when you're horizontals. So it don't. So, yeah, he said spooning, fam. He said spooning. I'm telling you what he said. Any regard. So he said he was fighting him for the gun, and then he put his finger behind the trigger. So he couldn't fire no more shots. I'm telling you what he said, fam. Troy Ave said, violently spooning. Thank you. Wait, hold on. Angelina, you was in the courtroom? He said violently spooning. This is a fact. He said violently spooning. This is what he said, Joe. He said, and then he said he put his finger behind the trigger so TAXSTONE couldn't fire no more shots off. Yo, this is what he said. I'm not saying this didn't happen. I'm just telling you what he said. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I think this is serious. I'm not trying to laugh at this shit. I promise you I don't think this is funny. For real, I'm not even playing. I promise you, I do not think this is funny. Just, you have to be there. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sitting there writing this shit down and trying not to laugh. This shit is, I don't know if this really happened. This probably really happened. This is what he said. I'm just telling you what he said. I'm telling you what he said. Nigga said they was violently spooning. I don't know. And then he also said that to stop him from shooting the gun off more, he put his finger behind the trigger. Now, I'm going to tell you about something Esquire said in Cross. So later on, him and Esquire, they going at it. I promise you they are. And so Esquire says, so what you going to do if somebody come in here trying to shoot at us? He said, Troy Ave, with the straightest face that anybody could ever have, I can't do it. Because it's just no way I could make my face that straight and say these words. But the guy asked him, what are you going to do if somebody come in here right now with a gun? And Troy Ave says, save everybody. Hold on, am I lying? Didn't he say that? I'm just asking. Was anybody else in there? If I'm wrong, please tell me I'm just wrong. Am I wrong? Did he say that? I'm just saying. So I'm not trying to laugh at this shit. You really have to be there. I'm telling you. I'm not making jokes. I know it sounds like I am. I promise you. I promise you I'm not. I'm being so serious. I'm trying. I'm not trying to laugh at this. This is not funny, yo. But yo, we had people that was there. We had people that was there. Then this nigga say, she said, what would you do if somebody come in with a gun right now? I mean, I personally would have said duck because y'all got court officers. That's their job. But this nigga said, save everyone. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh man, this is not going well. So yeah, that's what he said. I don't know what to make of it. Yeah, look, he was there. Nah, he said he was gonna save all of us. I told you. I'm not capping. I'm really not trying to make this shit sound funny. I'm telling you what happened. I'm not trying to make this sound funny, I promise you. Oh, man. So anyway, while they wrestling for the gun, Troy said, because he got to say, Troy said he put his finger in the back of the trigger so TAXSTONE can't fire the gun anymore. I swear, this is what happened. Okay. I'm not saying that this is the truth. I'm telling you what happened. That's it. They then said, then he said they fought for control of the gun. And then he got a little bit of control over the gun and he started hitting him in the head with it. Now he said this. He said he heard Casanova yell, "Let's go." He said, I think this is when he got the gun from him at this point, right? And he heard Casanova yell, "Let's go." And he said he looked around and the only person he seen with him was Block. He didn't see anybody else. All he seen was Block. And then after he saw him, then he said, "Let's go." That's the end of that part. So just give me a second. That's the end of that part. Now we're about to get to another segment, just so we can be clear. If you are enjoying the show, you can always hit the like button, and there's a Cash App. If you are enjoying the show, you can always hit the like button, and there's a Cash App. All right, so now they start having a conversation about the chain of events that led up going into the room. We got to move on. I can't stay on that because I said it enough times. Everybody got what's going on. Everybody definitely did lose. You got what's going on. I'm not going to stay on that, but that's what he said. In any regard. When they first went into the room, they going back through the chain of events again. He said, "Everyone." I don't know what to tell you, man. In any regard, when they first went into the room, he saw Casanova. He basically said when he saw Casanova, remember I told you, when he heard the "what's ups," that's when he figured it was dude because he had already saw Casanova. He said halfway in the room when they first heard "what's popping." So at this point, is this when they played the video the first time? Okay, so now I believe they played a video, the TMZ video. So I believe at this point, now they bring the TMZ. Yes, the court laughed. Everybody laughed. It was terrible, man. It was terrible. I don't know what to tell you. The jury laughed. People laughed. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I'm sure everybody didn't laugh, but people laughed. Come on, fam. What you think happened? Oh man. So I believe at this point they go over it again. He said he saw the gun in the defendant's hands when he tried to pull Tax to the ground, and then he heard more shots. He basically said when he did pull TAXSTONE to the ground and they was violently spooning, basically he had thought somebody had helped him because it was easy for him to get Tax down to the ground apparently. So he thought it was Benga. So he now knows that no one helped him and he did it all by himself. But when it initially happened, he thought it was Benga. He thought Benga was the person that was helping him. But he says now he knows Benga wasn't helping him, and it was just, he just did it. But the reason why he thought Benga was helping him, because he said it was so easy to get Tax down to the ground. He said he was heading out of the room when he slipped out of his grasp, and they reiterated it again. And that's when he turned around and started firing. Troy had put his legs up to block the bullets, but he didn't know that immediately he was shot. He got up, started fighting. This time, he grabbed the gun first and he horse collared him because apparently, Troy Ave grabbed the gun. Apparently, TAXSTONE shot, and I guess he's saying TAXSTONE turned and tried to book it. So he shot him, and then he's saying turn because he grabbed him by a horse collar. And for everybody that know what a horse collar is, that's an illegal tackle in football. That's when you grab the guy by the back of his collar and you yank back on him. So basically, he said that he grabbed the gun and he grabbed him by the back of his collar. I don't know how that works. And then he yanked back on him, and then that's how they got to the ground. And started violently spooning. I don't know what to tell you, fam. And then Tax headed around. Tax's head was around Troy's neck and head area. He said Tax had two hands on the gun. Troy was trying to take the gun and TAXSTONE was trying to keep it. He said this shit in court like that almost. He said, yeah, man, I was trying to take the gun and he was trying to keep it. He said Troy tries to keep it away from his face, and that's when Troy bites the back of TAXSTONE neck somehow. I don't know how that worked, but he bites the back of his neck, and then Tax bites his forearm. And then Tax was firing the gun while they were struggling. And Troy put his finger behind the trigger so Tax couldn't fire no more. Then he tries to hit Tax with the butt of the gun, but he wasn't really effective because Tax still had a little bit of control over the gun. And then he heard Casanova say, the cops is coming. I told you. He told the story like, and then a minute ago, he didn't say the cops is coming. He said, let's go, any regard. So then he said, the cops is coming. That's what he said. Casanova said, apparently. Not sure if others was involved with the struggle for the gun. He don't know. All he know, he was fighting and struggling for the gun. He said Tax leaves the VIP, but he can't remember who he was with. He said 7 people left in the VIP after the confrontation. So after all of that got done, by the time he was able to get up from the violent spooning, and he had the gun on him, and he looked around, there was only about 7 people still left in the room. Remember, he said the room started with like 80. He said Block was the only one he came with that was still in the room. Then he said, we out. Benga, he wasn't there. He had got hit. He wasn't aware that Benga had got hit either. He said he still had the weapon after leaving the room. Then he saw Tax and the gun jammed, which it did. We saw it jam. And then he re-racked the slide and then it fired. I got something to say about that, but we'll get to that later. After he walked towards the entrance to leave out, he was shot in both legs. He said he went to leave and saw Benga, still had the gun. He said he went to leave after, then he saw Benga. And he still had the gun and he was still with Block. But he had not known that Benga had got shot initially. He just saw him down. He didn't know he got shot until he saw all red on the shirt. I don't know if he said this time or the next time. He said he tried to get Benga, but his eyes was rolled to the back of his head. He tried to pick him up with Block. Him and Block tried to pick Benga up. He said his shirt was red, or he could tell that he was shot. He said Mano walked right past and ain't even help. That's what he said in court. He said Block then takes the gun and leaves, and he stays. And then the police come. He stays until the police comes. Then the prosecution played the video in slow motion so you can hear it when the shots is going off. He says he doesn't see himself in the video. He don't see Benga or Tax. He don't see none of them in the video. So that person we saw, that wasn't even Tax. People's 92 was a picture of the VIP room. I finally got to see it. Well, I haven't seen a VIP room before. I'm not that bougie. Not that you got to be bougie. Just haven't seen it. In any regard. He said he's currently suing Irving Plaza for allowing the gun on the premises. He says he does not know Malcolm Keenan. And he said he did release songs about the incident. So that was the end of the prosecution. We're about to get to Mr. Esquire. Mr. Montgomery Esquire and his cross-examination. So just so we could be clear, I thought the prosecution did well in making sure that he said the story enough so he shouldn't be able to forget it when Esquire starts asking him difficult questions. He said that Mano walked past him. I don't know if that's true or not. It's depending on what you think about Troy Ave and his testimony. He said Mano walked right past him. Didn't even try to help. That's what he said. That's not what I said. Any regard. Esquire immediately pulls up. He asks him, Esquire immediately pulls up. He asked him what happened. What does he rap about, basically? He said he raps about what's happening. Wait, pardon me. The first thing that Esquire lets them come in on. Hold on. We got to stop everything. The first thing Esquire talks about is how he's been talking about this event on his page and in different media. And the first thing he brought up was the songs that he had been making. So he asked him, what kind of songs has he made pertaining to this situation? And Troy Ave said flat out that he made songs about what happened. He also made songs disparaging Benga's family. And he also made songs disparaging Hovane's ex-wife. Now, just so we could be clear, R.I.P. Banger, R.I.P. Hovain. Now I'm going to read that sentence again. So the first thing Esquire asked him about is the music that he's been making pertaining to this particular situation. And Troy Ave says he made songs about what happened. He made songs disparaging Banger's family, and he made songs disparaging Hovain's ex-wife. Not saying that those was his exact words. Those was the words of Esquire. He agreed. He talked about this from as right after this happened. As soon as this happened, he went to jail. Remember, he's been talking about this the whole time since day one, either because tweets had been going out or whatever, Instagram posts have been going out or whatever, but he's been posting about this and or talking about this allegedly since day one. They kind of also agreed on that. Then they put text messages there. So basically just with social media. He agrees. He spoke about the case in songs. He says his art is reality. He says it's not 100% real, basically. What he does is he takes an aspect of his life, which is real life. And then from that thing, he then tells a story and extrapolates out and makes whatever the story is that he's rapping about. So basically, it starts with a nugget of truth, and then he has to make it entertaining, because if you just only say exactly what the thing is, then that's usually pretty boring. So he has to add shit to it so it could be entertaining. So that's the way he explained it. He agreed that he did podcasts about the case. Academics specifically they named. Breakfast Club specifically they named. Math Hoffa specifically they named. Talked about Lito. He talked bad about Kaz. And he talked bad about Trife. For everybody that don't know, Young Lito was his artist. That was the dude that we saw hiding behind the banister. He signed an agreement in April to help the government after what he says is constant harassment. Now, at this point, they decided to have a discussion about what harassment was. Esquire and Troy Ave. So Esquire is basically saying, so you consider somebody having an opinion about your music, because he was like, you know, there's other people that didn't like your music too, right? So he was like, yeah, these other guys. And then he said, so basically you saying that if somebody don't like something, then they're harassing the person. So then Troy Ave was like, nah, not like that. He said, see, like your suit, he's like somebody got a suit and the jacket don't match the pants. Now, just so I could be clear on this. Somebody's jacket didn't match their pants. Esquire's jacket did not match his pants in court. Troy Ave decided to put that. Oh, I gotta get a drink. I got an apple juice. Don't worry about it. I'm just drinking apple juice. Give me a second. Oh man. Okay. So Troy says, because he's trying to explain the difference. So he's like if somebody got a jacket that don't match their pants. And it's one thing if I just tweet about it one time. But if every day I'm saying, yo, look, that guy in the jacket don't match his pants, he's a bum. Look at that bum over there. As he pointed at Esquire. Oh man. So he's in court. Just so I can explain this to you. Esquire is asking him, just so we can be clear. He's like, yo, what is so you call a little bit of criticism harassment? He said, no, I don't call that harassment. He said, look, this is the difference. You see how your pants and he said, it's like if somebody pants and their shirt don't match, their pants and they jacket don't match. And you're just like, yo, look, your shit don't match. Right? He said, that's just having an opinion. He said, harassment is like when somebody's like, yo, look at this bum. He pointed right at Esquire. You look at your bum, his clothes don't match. And so he pointed right at Esquire and said that. Right in open court. I don't know what to tell you. So Esquire says, yeah, like when somebody's doing crocodile tears. So apparently, earlier, they was about to go to break because when Troy Ave was talking about he didn't know Banger got shot until he saw Banger and they tried to help him up. And I'm not going to lie. You felt it when he said that in the courtroom to me. I don't care. Like, if you just up there like this nigga whole liar, then it didn't have the same effect. But when the prosecution was still talking to him, what Troy Ave said was this. He said that he didn't know Banger had got shot initially. He just saw him on the ground. So he went to go pick him up. But it was like, Dad, wait. So he called Block. And he's like, yo, help me get this nigga. So then they both start trying to pick him up. And that's when he realized that his shirt was red. And at that point is when they put him back down. And he gave Block the gun and told him to get out of here. That's what he said. And then he started crying. They gave him some tissues. He wiped his eyes. And then the judge was like, this might be a good time to go take a break at first. Do you want to take a break? And he said, nah, I want to go do it. And it's still a pause. And then the judge says it again, and he says, nah, I'm good. And then the defense, the prosecution says, you know what? It's probably a good time to take a break. And Troy Ave's like, nah, I don't want to take a break. And then the judge says, you know what? It's better that we don't try to send him through this again. So that had happened earlier. It wasn't like, it was a little heavy. Like, unless you was in there just saying whatever that come out of Troy's mouth, you're going to think is a lie. Maybe because you believe something different. Maybe just because you don't mess with Troy Ave. But if you was in there just taking in what he was saying and not necessarily like looking for a problem with what he was saying, I'd have to assume that touched you a little. Because there's a man that really ain't here no more. Like, I'm really not trying to be funny this show. This is just the only way I know how to tell y'all what happened. I'm not trying to be funny. It really was like this. So when Troy Ave is making fun of dude pants and his jacket, which I don't have a problem with it. I don't know what he was talking about. You mix and match. Like, you're a lawyer, my dude. How many outfits you think he's gonna buy to go to court with? You understand what I'm saying? So lawyers, their wardrobe is different than me and your wardrobe. You know, you mix and match. So you don't always So I understand what he was saying, but Troy Ave was not correct because you're a lawyer. You mix and you match. That's how you dress. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you dress. You mix and you match. But that's how, you know, you dress as a grown man just in general, you know, when you're a suit wearer. See, Troy Ave, he's wearing a suit that day, but he's not a suit wearer. You understand what I'm saying? So that's something that you got to understand. So, no, dude's not a bum because his jacket wasn't matching his pants. Troy Ave's not a suit wearer, so he don't do the mixing and matching thing. But if you wear a suit every day, you know what I'm talking about. You mix and you match. In any regard, it looked like people in the it. I don't want to say, but anyway. So when he started talking about dude's jacket not matching his pants and pointing at him and saying, calling him a bum in open court, I don't think anybody knew what to do. These niggas was openly arguing in court. And also, I want to add, the freaking stenographer had to break up their fights all freaking day. The whole time. Let me just add this. This whole time, the stenographer has to keep breaking them up because they talking over the top of each other. And the stenographer could only write down one person at a time. And they going at each other. Like they going at each other. Like it's bananas. I don't even think they was asking or answering questions at one point. And nobody caught on. I'm really not trying to laugh at this stupid shit. But I believe there was a point. I believe there was a point. I'm telling you what happened in court. That's it. All I'm doing is telling you what happened in court. This is what they said, and this is what happened in court. So, just so we could be clear, I don't know what else to tell you. He pointed at dude, he called dude, like they were just arguing in court, man. The stenographer had a tough day. She was, you could hear it in her voice, she was pissed off. The stenographer was pissed off because she kept having to tell them, y'all can't talk at the same time. One person at a time. And then the judge was asking them to one person at a time. And then one person at a time. In any regard. They signed an agreement in April, the government, after constant harassment. That's what Troy Ave said. Just so I could go over this one more time. I don't want y'all to lose this point for everybody that just came in here. For everybody that just came in here, they talked about Lido because he went on Podcasters, Troy Ave, went on Podcasters. They named Academics, Breakfast Club, and Math Hoffa specifically, those names. And they said he talked about Lido, he talked about Casanova, and he talked about Trife. For everybody that don't know, Trife is Banger's brother. They said in April, he signed the agreement to help the government after constant harassment. That's what he said. And this is the point where he also, just so we can be clear, at some point, he mentioned specifically the letter that was sent to the judge by TAXSTONE's lawyer, who I'm going to assume is Esquire. This nigga dissed the lawyer's suit on the stand, and the lawyer said he had crocodile tears. I don't know what to tell you, man. April 2017. He said he had the proffer. He had proffers before he signed with the cooperation agreement. So basically, before the letter was sent, I'm assuming is what a lawyer was trying to get out. I'm assuming. Before the letter was sent, he had already been having proffer agreements with the government. They just didn't since February 8th. February 8th was the first meeting. Those were proffers. The only thing is, he didn't sign the paperwork until April. They asked if they jump tax. Troy said no. Once again. Okay, so I'm going to explain to y'all something about court. I'm going to unblock that other guy. Don't tell me about what to do on my channel, homie. I'm going to unblock you, though. So, I want to be clear on this point. He had an agreement. No. He had been doing proffers with them since February 8th. They got a signed agreement in April. That's when they actually signed the agreement. I have no idea. I'm not saying that he did. I'm not saying any of that. Are y'all getting kicked? So hold on. So they asked if tax was jumped. So, okay, so I'm going to say something real quick. I don't know what the agreement is. The agreement, they didn't show us what the agreement is. The agreement is People's, I think 273. I think it's People's 273, the agreement. Hold on. $293. People's 293 is the agreement. That's all I know. No, that's a photo of blocking them. Hold on. They brought it out. I don't know what it's part of evidence. That's all I can tell you. The agreement is part of evidence. They put it in evidence. That's all I can tell you. I want to tell you what evidence it is. Give me 1 second. I'm going to see if I see it one more time. People's 279. That's the plea agreement. So basically, there is a plea agreement that he signed in April. That's 279. People's Exhibit 279. He signed that into agreement in April. So basically, just so we could be clear, what I believe he's trying to get to, they can't. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you something about court real quick. So sometimes they want to talk. Let's say you want to talk about something. Okay, remember how I said you cannot prejudice. Remember how I tell you you can't prejudice the jury against the defendant. And that's why a lot of people be running out here mad at people they shouldn't be mad at. Y'all just be listening to the prejudices and not really paying and knowing what actually happened. So you can't bring stuff in to prejudice the jury against the defendant. Like, you can't talk about other crimes or whatever the case, or other weird shit that don't have nothing to do with this case, because that would just be, if it doesn't in any way have anything to do with this case, you can't talk about it. So I believe, and I'm not 100% sure this, but I believe that they already have some evidence that they weren't able to bring in because they didn't have any kind of verification on it. And the verification was basically, he kept asking Troy, basically, did tax get jumped? Now, he said it in a couple of different ways and alluded to it in a couple of different ways. And Troy kept insisting it was just him, and he don't know how the guy fell down so quick. He thought it was Banger helping him, but he wasn't sure. They spoke about that numerous different times. In any regard, he asked him if tax got jumped, and Troy said no. Because remember, tax was beat up, just so we could be clear. And Troy isn't saying anything worth that he could have beat anybody up. Get it? So he just asked them, did they jump TAXSTONE? Implying, just so we could be clear, that the reason why TAXSTONE pulled this gun is because they was jumping him. Allegedly. That's the implication. Anyway, he couldn't go no further with it. Troy said no, he had to leave that alone. Just so nobody goes and be like, yo, why didn't he say this? Why didn't he say that? There's parameters that he has to stick by. And if he don't stick by those parameters, he could get sanctions from the in the courtroom, and that could hurt his client. Any regard, he says he never used the trap in the vehicle for drugs. They went back and forth on that. He just kept saying it, and they was like going back here. They yelling. Like, I know I'm just saying that one line. He said he never used the trap in the vehicle for drugs, but they would go back and forth on this type of stuff for like 2-3 minutes, and then the stenographer, I think she wanted to curse them out, to be honest with you. Said he was aware Banger would be armed and put illegal weapons in trap vehicle. So basically, he said he was aware that Banger would carry the weapons around with him, and he was aware that Banger put the weapons in the trap in the vehicle, and also he said he's the one that had the trap installed. So he took responsibility for the vehicle, he took responsibility for the trap, and he also said he paid for the guns. Those were his guns. Said that he didn't have a fallout with Lito and Hovain due to them not wanting to take personal responsibility for the gun. That's what he said initially. Even though earlier, obviously, we heard different. He says he fell out with Lito because when he got locked up, he said he fell out with Lito, one, because Lito walked past Banger's body. When all that happened, Lito, he said, just walked right past him. And then he said when he went to jail, they was talking about Lito's next up. Like, what are you talking about, Lito's next up, nigga? Like, I've only been locked up a month. He wasn't even locked up 2 months. What you mean the next guy is next up? What are you talking about? So he caught feelings over that. He was upset over that. He said he fell out with Hovain partly because he didn't want to take responsibility for the gun. But he switched it up because he didn't say that at first. He said something else during the other. I just made a notation of that. He said he never got caught for selling kilos. no, and then they said, so, because he was like, and you sold all of these drugs, right? So hold on, Esquire was like, so you sold all of these drugs. And he was like, yeah, I was selling all these drugs, sell all of the drugs. And so Esquire was like, and you never got caught. And he said, no. And I'm telling you, I think that kind of, I think people was like that. So you were selling all of these drugs for how long and you never got caught? So then Esquire is like, so how much was you selling? So he basically said the first of the month he sell anywhere from 3 to 5 kilos, and from the 15th and the 15th of the month he sell anywhere from 6 to 10 kilos. So that's what he said. If anybody heard different, please put it in the chat. He said more than that, TAXSTONE he was mad because he said TAXSTONE called him a fraud. But then he was like, but didn't Drew Millard, I don't know why I'm saying his name so wrong. Then he said, more than that. Look, that's not what he said he sold. Do y'all believe that? Put it in the chat if y'all believe that. If y'all believe he was selling 3 to 5 kilos on the first of the month and 6 to 10 kilos on the 15th of the month. That's what he said. Kilos of cocaine. That's what he said. Somebody said it's a fact Troy like that. Okay. So that's what he was doing? Troy Ave shit, I guess. The fuck do I know? See, Jumpman says just another one of Troy's famous fairy tales, in my opinion. I don't have your own opinion. Put it in the chat. Hold on. I haven't been reading any of y'all comments. I'm gonna read some comments for the next couple of minutes. TS Small TV says, he's talking to Ernest. He says Tax literally said on air he used to run down on Troy when he found to be trying to sell his CDs and clown him and bully him. Then when he got on air, he started threatening him. You said Tax said that himself. Dre Smith says Troy Ave was selling mixtapes, all he was selling. Ray. He said he probably played with some coke. E1B says shaking my head. He should have said it to it's entertainment. Stefan says that's a whole lot of weight. Moneybag says salute Jack Fro, salute. News do rap. You finally talking straight because you was talking crazy all this time. Your messages couldn't even come through. You said BMF health. Bruce Banner says it's all irrelevant to the case. Well, the judge was letting it go through, and the prosecution wasn't. No, it wasn't irrelevant. The prosecution brought it up in her opening, and when she was talking with him initially, so they could ask him about that. The prosecution brought that up. Anything that the attorney, if you get called to the stand by an attorney, and that attorney starts discussing something with you, and then the next attorney asks you about that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's what's due. They talked about his whole criminal career. Remember, in early 2002, he started selling drugs or something like that. So they talked about his whole career. So it's relevant. Ray Rich says I'm a citizen, so I wouldn't have a clue. Dre Smith says he was selling mixtapes all over Brooklyn at gas stations. Beautiful and the Beast says yes, he was. I know people that know him from back in the days. Yes, he was what? 416 says, nah, fam. These just intro dudes. Troy lived for real. Stefan says, I believe 1B equals 1 pound equals 2.2. Okay. Y'all talking about something else. Champagne says Troy a real one. TAXSTONE. Oh man, I don't be meaning to read those comments. Akeem Smith says he got rich selling something. Av is Pablo Escobar's son. Baby Wizard Kelly. Big Meech Troy Ave news the rap. Carlos Thomas says no one got slapped and nobody was harmed in this video. Cool. Mr. says 20 kilos a month. Stop it, Av. Stephon says, wait, let me do some math. Sharice says, no, what he said was he used to see him at the gas station and selling his CDs because he used to try to get Tax to buy them. He was not running down them in the street when he was selling his CDs. Oh, so he was trying to get TAXSTONE to buy his CDs so when you see him at the gas stations, he pull over. Troy Ave literally took the stand and told. That's what Ernest says. 416 says Troy been getting it. Okay. T dollar sign says, did they ask who his plug was? They did not. Dre Smith says Akeem, I guess he got to tell the government though if they ask him. Akeem Magic says he isn't rich, but he has some decent money going independent, pushing merch. And one time he was pretty hot. Shahzeb Nadim says Troy wasn't even charged with his friend's murder and he still ratted. He was charged with attempt murder. Ray Rich says Southwest Troy Ave. Lovely P says 20 kilos a month. That's what he said, Joe. Maybe, I don't know. That's what he said. Did anybody else hear different? That's what I heard. Ernest says comment section lit. Akeem says y'all act like they would allow him to make statements about his past criminal life without them knowing. Sharice, that's a kind of on point. Sharice says, how was Tax demeanor today? As always, he looks upbeat. I'm not going to say he's not running around like doing jumping jacks, but he doesn't look like this is the weight of the world. You know what I'm saying? He look like he's handling it really well. Jumpman says, Troy have been watching too much Power and BMF on Stars. 416 says, chat talk is gimmicks, Frost. Troy's truly real deal on the coke, Jake. Okay. Dre Smith says, Troy Ave, the mistapes hustler, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. T Small says he definitely said that. Fox 5 says he was in that Suburban being a rap guy. I was on the drug blocks being hella promoted. I was on a drug block he never promoted. Beauty and the Beast says Troy Ave is not on trial for selling kilos. None of it matters. Well, the defense attorney is asking him about his past criminal life. And I think the reason why the defense attorney asked him that is because the defense attorney wants to make it look like Troy Ave has lied about multiple different things. So it is relevant if he lied to the government about any of the crimes that he allegedly committed in order to get out from under them. And it is relevant if he lied about anything at all. And it sounds like the defense attorney is showing that some of the things that Troy Ave is saying or trying to prove that some of the things that Troy Ave might have said or is saying might just not be the truth. So yes, whether he lied about how much drugs he sold is relevant. If he had a good month, that's literally 44 pounds. People getting TAXSTONE stories confused. Okay, Odin. Oh, you talking about them. TAXSTONE, a real internet gangster. I'm trying to miss those comments. He could have sold 100 tons, but that don't matter because he ratted. Not available, said the amount of people vouching against Troy, for him to say that, even bang a brother Trife. Akeem just telling somebody he's aware of both gentlemen. WBH Radio says what's next in the case. Stuff. The defense is going to at some point start calling witnesses, right? Y'all going to be happy I took notes at that point. Troy Ave, wait, nope, not reading those comments. Don't know who the plug is. Ernest says Troy Ave could have kept it gangster and pled the fifth. Let me roll up. Damn, y'all just commenting like crazy. Okay, I skipped some of these comments so I could get. I've skipped a ton of y'all comments because I get down to the bottom. Ain't no rapper selling 20 birds in a month in New York City without somebody telling somewhere. I don't want to hear no coke talk when he told. When will we know the verdict? When the verdict comes in, like what the heck? I don't know what day, but they did say they expect for it to be passed this week. There's supposed to be a nor'easter coming in. No, the defense wants to show him as a criminal, not an innocent victim. Yes, I believe that they want to do that also, but they also want to show that he's not being truthful. And they also want to show, just like I'm assuming, and they also want to show, just like with the previous witness, like they've been saying since their opening statements, these guys are telling lies in order to get deals from the government. No, they said it with their own mouth, but maybe that's not what they're doing. 416 said Troy did not rat. His man got killed. What should he do? Akeem said 50 told a lot of y'all favorite rappers told. Are you saying 50 told and a lot of y'all rappers, or is you saying 50 said a lot of these dudes did? If he got caught with keys, he'd probably be out. Baby Wizard Kelly said lies are more entertaining than the truth. The man Meg the Stallion. I'm gonna skip some more comments because you guys are dropping mad comments. Okay, so you said Troy didn't move that work in New York all by himself. You can't. That statement is just contradictory, man. He didn't do it, or did he do it not by himself? All right, let me get back to what happened. Get back to the actual paperwork. I mean, my actual notes. In any regard, in any regard, I'm. He said that he never got caught. He was selling 3 to 5 keys on the 1st of the month and 6 to 10 keys on the 15th. He said he never got caught. He said more than that. Tax called him a fraud, right? But also, Tax wasn't the only one calling him a fraud. This is what the defense attorney got out of it. They said Drew Millard and Sheldon Pierce. He said he doesn't even know who Sheldon Pierce is, but the guy actually wrote an article. Drew Millard wrote an article. I think he said he remembered that article, but he don't remember that other article. He don't know who that Sheldon Pierce guy is. He said Benga did not assault Drew Millard. Apparently, Drew Millard was on the Angie Martinez show, or he said on the Angie Martinez show that he got assaulted by Benga, one of the two. So apparently, one of the things that the defense attorney was trying to bring out, and they going back and forth, arguing like crazy, like they're arguing in court, is that Benga was used as an enforcer to go after other artists and to go after journalists or whatnot. So I don't know how to say this guy named McCowan. Apparently, Benga went after McCowan because he took offense to something that McCowan said, and he punched that dude while he was on the stage. Troy Ave said that he didn't order it though. No, the real 50 was a stick-up kid. He got killed. He used to walk around with 2 big-ass guns, but that's a whole nother story. So McCowan got punched out on stage by Benga, but Troy Ave said that he didn't order it. He didn't tell him to do that. Troy Ave tweeted that he got a Yellow Man's chain, apparently, one day after Yellow Man had disrespected him. So they say Yellow Man disrespected him. He said he don't even know who Yellow Man is. He was like, how's that guy? He said he don't know who that guy is. But apparently, Yellow Man disrespected him one day, and then the very next day, he allegedly tweeted out that they had his chain. And then there's some other person that he threatened over Twitter. And he also said he wasn't scared of tax. And then these two dudes was arguing back and forth about country music. I think the judge literally said that he don't want to hear no more about country music. Was y'all in the courtroom? Did that shit? Yo, real talk. These dudes was going back and forth about country music. I think the judge had to tell him that they didn't want to hear about country music no more. So I'm telling you what happened. I'm telling you what happened. Somehow they start talking about country music in the middle of court. R.I.P. Banger. So they going back and forth. I think the stenographer had to like go at them again. So I think they going back and forth, and I'm pretty sure the judge told them that they can't talk about that shit no more. Yo, my dude, I'm telling you what happened. I'm telling you what happened. I'm telling you what happened. They start going back and forth about country music. Real talk. Like, I think Esquire was saying something about in country music, something, and then Troy said in country music they talk about killing their wives, and then then Esquire was saying, yeah, but in country music they don't do this and that, and the judge had to be like, yo, we're not talking about country music. Yo, I'm telling you, this is not cap. Who was in? Somebody had to be in there and heard this shit besides me. I know I'm not the only one that heard this. This was crazy. Yo, this is crazy. I don't know what to tell you. This is really what happened. Maybe I remember it different. Maybe I remember it different. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, this, if they didn't make no sense. Like, it didn't make no sense. No, they were both trying to make a point, but they kept trying to, every time one of them said something, like I'm trying to explain to you, there wasn't even questions at this point. If anybody is in here, ask them. There wasn't even questions at these points. These dudes was just talking to one another. And then every once in a while, the judge would say, is there a question in there? They was just talking to one another. And they was talking over the top of each other. And the freaking stenographer had to keep telling them to talk one at a time. This is not cap. He initially said him and Banger was fighting over the gun with Tax. He agreed. They somehow finally got down to that. They saying he swung at TAXSTONE with his right hand over Banger's left shoulder. So TAXSTONE head is here. So one shoulder's here, other shoulder's there. So he's saying that he swung at him over the shoulder like this, apparently. So I don't know if he's saying TAXSTONE turned. I don't know. I mean, not TAXSTONE, Banger turned, but he said he threw a right hand over the shoulder. He threw a right hand over his left shoulder. That's what he said. And I can tell Esquire wanted to really go into that about that. Don't even make sense, because that's, you would think that if he threw it like, I don't know. Anyway, so that's what he said. Maybe he threw it like that because he's a lefty. They should have asked. In any regard, then he said he assumed Banger was shot on the first shot. But I'm not sure when he's assuming that, because that kind of contradicts something he said in direct. Because in the direct, he said he didn't know that Benga was shot. So I don't know. I think that needed to be clarified, because he could be meaning that now that he know he was shot, he's assuming that he got shot on the first shot. That's what he could have meant. But that still kind of contradicts the direct. They didn't get into that too much. He said, they used academics interview saying that he isn't scared of a gun. So yeah, so basically he went on academics. So basically he went on academics, and when he went on academics, what he said is that he's not scared of no gun. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he get offended if you pull a gun out on him. So that's the way it was distributed to us in court. Like, when he went on academic show, he was like, yo, if you pull a gun on me, like that's like, yeah, he laughs at it, like ha 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 ha, like that. Like, I don't know how to put it. But like, he's not scared if you pull a gun on him. That's what he was basing, but the way they was making it sound. So he said he beat Tax up and took his pistol. On DJ Academic's show, he said that he wasn't scared of no gun. TAXSTONE pulled the gun on him, so he beat him up and he took the pistol. And he not sure what anyone else did. So then he goes to reenact getting shot, and there's an objection, and the jury is sent out of the room. See, because when all of this was going on, the very next questions that Esquire asked him was about him bailing, bonding Benga out of jail. But what had happened is previously they already said that they can't talk about Benga's criminal activity. So they can't allude to any crimes, and I keep trying to tell you, they can't prejudice the jury. So they can't allude to any crimes that was committed that are not crimes that are directly related to this specific situation. So when you say that you bonded or bailed Benga out or whatever the case is, you're alluding that Benga was already a part of a previous crime and alluding to the fact that he's a criminal, thus disparaging his name, and you can't do that in the court of law. So basically what happened was they already spoke about this when the jury wasn't there. So she immediately objected. She was like, objection. And then so the judge was like, yeah, we got to take the jury out so we could debate this. So the jury was sent out, Troy Ave was sent out, and the prosecution said the defense violated the judge's previous directive. Not to mention Benga's criminal, they couldn't mention any of Benga's criminal activity. So when he did that, the judge already said that he can't do that, that's not acceptable. So that's what the prosecution said. The prosecution said the open case was a shooting case that Troy Ave had nothing to do with. The defense says, but it was a BSB affair. The shooting had to do with it was a part of what the gang was. You understand? So since the shooting was a part of who that gang was, Esquire was saying it should be allowed in, basically, because we're here talking about a situation that basically what Esquire is saying is, not me, but what Esquire is saying is that this situation was in actuality what he keeps trying to allude to, and he keeps trying to find a back door. He's trying to find a back door to say that they jumped TAXSTONE this whole time. So this is the second back door he's trying to go through. The other back door he was trying to go through was this. When he said, No, there was more than one back door. Hold on. I believe the first time he tried to go through the back door was when he asked if they jumped TAXSTONE flat out. He said no. That was the first time that he brought it up. Then he brought up again when he brought up that they assaulted Drew Millard, McCohen, and I don't know if the Selden Pierce guy got assaulted, but they had words for him apparently. So the second time he tried to go through the back door so he could bring up a certain discussion is when he brought up about how McCohen got beat up, because he's showing, I don't know how to say this guy's name. I don't know how to say the guy's name, man. McCohen, am I saying it wrong? But write it phonetically in any regard. So he straight up mentioned, just so we could be clear, straight up asked him, did they jump TAXSTONE? Troy said no. Then you have to show. You understand? You have to show. So they start showing, he's asking these other things, and then he says that Benga assaulted Drew Millard. Something about the Angie Martinez show. Then also Conan. So he's trying to show that Benga does attacks or is the enforcer for Troy Ave. Right? So that's why when he says, just so we can be clear, which page am I on? When he says, and he's talking about that he bailed out Benga, that's because this is his third way to try to get through the back door. Because he can't go through the front door. You understand? This is lawyering. He can't go through the front door because he's already been blocked. So now he's trying to go around the back door. And the next way he tried to do that was he's trying to bring up Benga's that, you know, he mentioned that Benga was bailed out by Troy Ave. So this has already been said that this cannot be allowed in. So the prosecution, after the defense says, but the reason in which why he was locked up, it was a BSB affair. It was a shooting. He was locked up for shooting. I don't know if anybody got shot. Just it was a shooting. The prosecutor says, at least that's what I believe they said. The prosecutor says that he had on like a BSB jacket and all of that, but it had nothing to do with Troy Ave though. Like even if that was 100% a BSB situation, that was a BSB situation, but it had nothing to do with Troy Ave, so therefore it can't be in this testimony. The defense says wants the jury to know that they bring violence to the clubs. The judge says it only goes to show that the deceased had a propensity for violence. He doesn't see how this is relevant to this case. The judge is not going to let the defense put the deceased on trial. That was the end of that. How do y'all feel about that ruling? Put it in the chat. Real quick, I want to know how y'all feel about that ruling. The judge said, after, I'll tell you what the argument was first. I'll tell you what the argument is again, just for anybody that missed it. Esquire mentioned that Troy Ave bailed Benga out. When Troy Ave mentioned, when he asked, and Troy Ave answered the question, by the way. He said, yeah, I bailed him out. The prosecution objected. Because you do know the next question was, why was he in jail? Y'all do know this, right? So the prosecution immediately objected. R.I.P. Banger. When the prosecution objected, the judge already knew what it was, had the jury and the witness leave. When they left, the prosecution's objection was the defense violated the judge's directive not to mention Banger's criminal activity. The prosecution says the case was a shooting case that Troy Ave had nothing to do with. The defense said it was a BSB affair, so therefore it should be able to be mentioned here. The prosecution said that it was BSB. He had a jacket on and all, but it had nothing to do with Troy Ave. The defense said they want the jury to know they bring violence when they go to clubs. The judge then gives his verdict on it, his decision. He says it only goes to the deceased's propensity for violence. He doesn't see how this is relevant to this case. The judge is not going to allow for the defense to put the deceased on trial. Then he calls the jury back in. Then he goes over. They say initially he tried to fire the gun because he saw Tax pulling out a gun. He says he misspoke. So during the grand jury, when they're deciding to bring this case to trial, you have to go to a grand jury first, and the grand jury has to agree that this case goes to trial. So during the grand jury, he allegedly said initially that he fired his gun when he shot because he saw TAXSTONE about to fire a gun. He says now he remembers the event differently. He said he remembers the event differently than what he told the grand jury. The judge said his grand jury testimony is not evidence. His testimony today and then he tells the jury that his testimony today, if that doesn't line up, that you use that for your own decision about his credibility. So if it doesn't line up with what he said before, you got to take it on yourself, your own, if you believe what he's saying. That's what the judge says. And then they play the video with Troy Ave shooting. He says Tax was running, stopped, said, "What's popping?" before he started shooting again. So they show the video. When they show the video, it's much ado about nothing. After that, he says, asks him questions, and basically, Troy Ave had said TAXSTONE was running, stopped, said, "What's popping?" before he started shooting. He also, they get into a back and forth because the defense says that he told the detectives when he was in the hospital that he actually got shot in the staircase. So they go over that for a minute. He says he doesn't remember telling the detective he got shot walking on the stairs. He says that he got to walk up the stairs. And that's where he got shot. So it's like a semantics thing. But not really, because one is president, one is past. Anyway. So then he says that this song he made a diss song where he said he had murdered Tax and say middle finger from the stands. So Esquire starts getting ready to talk about the songs that he made. So Esquire get ready to talk about the songs that he made. And the judge immediately excuses the jury. Does anybody know why? So Esquire immediately tries to bring up his rap lyrics that he said in songs, the actual lyrics. The judge stops everything, excuses the jury and the witness. Anybody know why? So the judge had a dilemma here. The way I see it. You see, all of these courts want to be careful when they allow people to use rap lyrics in court. The judge deemed that he can't use any stray lyrics. He can only use the lyrics pertaining to this situation, or, you know, what he actually said involving these people. So he can't just use random lyrics about other things. It has to be pertaining to this. So the jury comes back and they talk about how he said middle finger from the stands. They talk about how he disrespected Banger's family, disrespected Hovain. They also talk about the clubhouse session where Trife said Banger and Troy knew Tax was there. And then there was an objection. I believe that objection was sustained. Troy said he didn't know Tax was there. He said he was suing Irving Plaza. He says that he was suing Irving Plaza because he was attacked in the lawsuit with a gun that shouldn't have been in the building. He says in the lawsuit he was attacked and a third party drew a gun after they had attacked. He says his lawyer wrote the letter from his recollection. He doesn't remember saying it. But he agreed that he was attacked. So he don't agree. He didn't write the actual paperwork that is used for the lawsuit. His lawyer wrote it. I'm going to say that again. He didn't write the actual letter. So he's like, man, I don't know what's in the letter, basically. That's basically what he's saying. He don't know what's in the letter. His lawyer actually wrote. No, he's asking him specifically what's in the letter. So he's like, I don't know what's in the letter. My lawyer wrote it. But he does agree that he was attacked. He says that he knows Tax was on MTV, but he didn't know that TAXSTONE was on all those other things. He said he didn't pay attention about other platforms other than MTV as far as TAXSTONE was concerned, so he didn't know. Then he closes, he ends the statement, Esquire. The prosecution redirects, and they said other people around didn't know what they were doing. TAXSTONE said that he will put Troy Ave in a wheelchair on social media. So basically, what happened was she wanted to reiterate the things I believe that TAXSTONE has said on social media. So she reiterated that TAXSTONE, she had him reiterate that TAXSTONE said that he was going to put him in a wheelchair on social media. He did say that when him and TAXSTONE was fighting for the gun, he didn't count the shots. So there was a long part in here that they went back and forth for a couple of minutes over when the shots went off and when Troy Ave remembers the shots going off. It was, I didn't want to talk about it because it was just too much comedy and I laughed too much during this damn video. So I didn't want to talk about it. But there was a whole part where they're talking about when the guns went off, when the shots happened. And Troy Ave is saying that he basically don't remember exactly what order the shots. He's like, did you get shot with the first shot or the second shot or the third shot? And then they're playing the shots, and he's trying to get Troy Ave to remember which shot he got shot with. I couldn't do that. I don't even want to. That's just too much. So I skipped over that part, but that's something that happened. So this is a reference back to that, just so we could be clear. When she redirects and says to him, did you, that, and he tries to say he didn't have time to count the shots while they was busy fighting. Then she brings people 4, which is the 3rd floor layout, so he could show where he was and wasn't when the whole thing happened and went down. Then the defense redirects and says the officer took down wrong information because basically that's something that he told. He told something to the officer. Now he's saying that that's not what he told the officer. He told the police he didn't want to get locked up after that because he didn't want to get locked into anything. When the police asked him what the story was, he told them that he didn't want to get locked into anything concerning his comments. So then they ended their questioning, and the prosecution redirects and gets him to say he didn't want to be locked into saying how many shots was fired because he didn't know how many shots was fired. Also, he continued and then they entered People's 188, which apparently was a image of a the bite he had on his arm, and then everybody closed for the day. So that's basically what happened. Let me know what y'all guys think about that. Put it in the chat. That's basically what happened. And is there anything you want me to go back over? But I didn't tell you because it was just some of the stuff is I don't know what to tell you, fam. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not trying to laugh, but the dude literally said that he was going to save everybody in the courtroom if somebody come in the courtroom with a gun, man. Like, I'm not trying to laugh at this shit. I'm really not. Yeah, I'm really. No, he's done with his testimony. Yeah, I'm really not trying to laugh at this stuff, man. Like, I get it. I'm not trying to sit over here laughing, but I'm trying. But this stuff is crazy. Like, this dude, I don't know what to tell you. He sat on the stand and pointed at the lawyer and disrespected the lawyer's outfit and basically called him a bum. And then the lawyer responded back by saying, you on the stand with crocodile tears. So I don't know what to tell you. And everybody just watching. I'm not trying to laugh at this. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. One of TAXSTONE supporters is paying for his lawyer. So probably thousands on thousands on thousands. Right? Thousands? One of TAXSTONE supporters is paying for his lawyer. Dude, you have to be in court. I think he didn't do a bad job. Like, if you understand what he was, I think I understand what he was trying to do. And if he was doing what he was trying to do, I don't think he did a bad job at all. Damn right about that. Nobody wins in this situation. He didn't do a bad job at all. Exactly. When Charlemagne, one of his supporters, dude made a comment saying, I wonder if his supporters is giving him any money. Deep Thought said, I wonder how many of TAXSTONE supporters have sent him money for support. And I'm saying he got one supporter that's paying for his lawyer. Look, man, these dudes, the judge was getting in the mix and trying to tell them they gotta talk one at a time. The judge was getting the mix and trying to tell them they gotta talk one at a time. Just so we could be clear. The judge was getting in the mix. Like, yo, y'all gotta talk one at a time. He was 100% doing that. Don't get this confused. But it was like, you didn't even realize it started. I don't know what that, like, I'm not trying to laugh. You didn't even realize it started. Like, they be going at it for a minute or two before you realize that these guys, like, not a whole minute, but they be going at it before you realize that they going at it. What up, Charlie? Yeah, they be going at it before you even realize they going at it. That's the only way I could put it. Like, we wasn't even, I don't even think there was questions being asked. These guys was just like talking. Exactly, Jumpman. So his supporters is taking care of him. So I don't know what dude was supposed to mean by saying that. Sometimes people got people that fuck with them, homie. You also got to remember, TAXSTONE does social media, and a lot of social media is getting donations from your community. That's a lot of social media. Like, go look at anybody that does social media successfully. These guys be millionaires, and they still be getting $10,000 donations every show. Tell me where the lie's at. Yeah, it's community tax. Charlemagne is community. He's a supporter. He's paying for his lawyer. Like, that's literally how social media work. That's why it always kills me when people be talking about some social media person getting a donation. Like, that's literally how social media works. Like, if you enjoying any aspect of the show, you can pull up to the Cash App. That's literally how social media works. You donate to the page. You buy their merch. Tell me where the lies at. You watch their videos. Tell me where the lies at. That's literally how social media works. That's why every time I hear somebody criticize a social media person and that's their criticism, I'm like, but that's how it works. Like, everybody knows that. Why are you hating? That's literally the reason why they made OnlyFans. Literally. Jumpman says, what is the jury looking like for us, old, young, what they hitting for? Okay, most of the jury is probably 40 and up. But if you're TAXSTONE, that's what you want, in my opinion. Like, in my opinion, that's what you want. Like, you really want some, if you want to fight for your life on trial, you really want some, I don't know, 25-year-old person deciding whether you're gonna go to jail for the rest of your life or not. Somebody who barely lived. Somebody said Troy Ave is arrogant and hard to like as a person. People wasn't hating, they just didn't like him. Well, Esquire is the freaking lawyer for TAXSTONE. Of course he's not going to like him. I have no idea who's winning. Somebody says Troy proved he ain't real. Ernest says Troy proved he ain't real after dissing Banger family. If anybody was in the courtroom, did I say anything wrong? Did I leave anything out? And did I add something that didn't belong there? If anything, I might have left some stuff out on purpose, a couple of things. But not big, just not worth mentioning. If anybody that was in the courtroom is still in here, did I say something that didn't happen? That's what I'm asking. The jury's looking. I don't know. The jury is looking. He said, how's the jury looking? The jury is looking. Why are people always trying to ask me my opinion? No matter how much I say, I don't have no opinion to give. They said tax. I can protect myself as a man to the police and admitted shooting. Who said that? Who said that? Who they said that? TAXSTONE or Troy Ave? I didn't hear that in court. I didn't hear that in court. The New York Post, hold on. I'm gonna go read what the New York Post wrote. Mm. Rapper Troy Ave on Monday gave Manhattan jurors a gripping account of his life and death struggle with rival TAXSTONE for the gun used to kill his bodyguard to the 2016 scuffle at Irving Plaza. The Brooklyn-born musician, whose real name is Roland Collins, testified at TAXSTONE's murder trial that he chose to fight back after he was shot and wounded in the backstage melee on May 25th, 2016. If it's a fight or flight, I'm going to fight because at that point you could die, Collins, 37, said in Miami's Supreme Court. Collins described grappling with TAXSTONE, a hip-hop podcaster whose real name is Daryl Campbell, over the gun. It looks like if you see people wrestle in high school wrestling, that type of position, when the shot goes off, I see the light from the spark and I hear the shot, he testified. It's all happening fast. I get up, start fighting TAXSTONE, trying to take him, grab the gun. Another shot goes off. I put my leg up to kind of block the shot from hitting me in the chest or the face. That's when Campbell shot him in both legs. He told jurors, I got up, Collins said, I'd rather die fighting. People die from leg shots. He said that shit too. And when he said that right here, when he said, I'd rather die fighting, but when he said the people die from leg shots, I ain't gonna lie, people die from leg shots. He said, I'd rather die fighting than laying on the ground. I got up immediately. He said Collins finally got his hands on the gun and got his fleeing rivals in his sights, only to have the weapon misfire, he testified. Only then did he notice that his pal and bodyguard, Ronald Banger McFadden, lay on the ground face down. He rolled his body over. I'm like, Banger, come on, get up, come on. I'm smacking him like, come on, bro, get up, Collins testified. And his eyes were rolled to the back of his head. His shirt was red, so I could tell he got shot. 2 bystanders was also wounded during the shooting in the crowded VIP room at the T.I. concert, and Collins was initially hit with attempted murder and gun possession charges for the role. Campbell, 37, is now on trial. Collins lawyer told the Post that prosecutors promised 1-year sentence instead of 15 years he could have faced in exchange for testimony in Campbell's trial. We know about that. This is Banger. I was deciding whether I was going to show you his picture. He said Banger turns around to me and says, I'm going to rock him, which he means I'm going to hit him. Collins testified, and then I wink at him and I tell him, do your thing. He said that's when Campbell reached for his waistband and pulled the gun, prompting the fight that ended McFadden's lead, that ended with McFadden dead. He said in the aftermath, Collins told concert goers Collins said concert goers started to flee when someone yells, the cops is coming. I'm like, no, F that. I'm staying with him, he told jurors, referring to McFadden. It goes a still. Damn, they should have the spark coming out the gun. I guess, oh, wow. He said, I can protect myself as a man, so I'm not thinking about rolling with 6 goons. Campbell told detectives, said that after his arrest, according to the court papers, when I see you walking up with 6 dudes, bang, bang. So that's something else from something else that was said somewhere else. It wasn't said in this courtroom. That's why I'm laughing at rappers. He allegedly said, rappers don't care about you. I tell you, try me. So that's what that article says. Yeah, basically, he just added a whole bunch of, he added different shit other than what I added. But yeah, it's basically. He fucked around and found out. That self-defense shit Troy trying to use is out the window. Bango was the aggressor. Yeah, that's from an old interview. They pulled that from offline. I think they already said that there's not an expectation of TAXSTONE taking the stand. Oh yeah, he didn't actually ask them how he got the gun. Hold on, let me go over that part. I don't think he said it. I don't think he asked him. No. Hold on. Hold on. There was a part. Yes, he did. Listen, there was a part. I already told y'all. I'm going to repeat it. Because I told y'all on the other side. There was a part where Esquire is asking him about how he was laying on the ground. And Troy Ave was like, what, you want me to get over here and get down and show you? And Esquire was like, yeah, show me. And then he said, oh, you want me to lay on this dirty floor? Yo, wait, hold on. See, I'm trying not to say some of the stuff that was funny because I'm not here to laugh. You understand? And I was telling y'all the funny stuff and I was laughing and I feel bad about that. So I stopped telling y'all the stuff that was funny. Because this started some of this stuff, I don't know what to tell you, man. These guys was bugging. So he's asking him about how he put his leg up when TAXSTONE shot him, because basically he's saying that that's not what happened. So Troy Ave is like, nah, that's what happened. Right? So then he says, what, you want me to get on the floor and show you? You know, let's like, you know, sarcastically or whatever. So Esquire's like, yeah, get on the floor and show us. He said, you trying to get in the floor dirty? The floor? I'm not laying down there with my clothes. So then Esquire goes and gets his coat and lays his coat on the floor. And so he gets down on the floor. I couldn't see it from the way I was sitting. So he gets down on the floor and showed them about how he, how he's saying he got shot. So I'm guessing that's when he was telling them or whatever, but we couldn't see it. Give me 1 second. It was bugging, man. These guys was going crazy. I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying not to say certain shit because certain shit is funny. I'm gonna look like I'm making jokes about some shit I'm not making jokes about. These guys was honestly funny. I don't know what to tell you. I could see why people could be pissed at Troy Ave. It don't bother me none, but almost everything he say sounds sarcastic. So I could just imagine talking to this dude all day, and that's something that it get on your nerve. Like if you somebody is constantly saying something to you, like sarcastically. So I guess the reason why people say he's a lot of people say Troy Ave is how do you say um full of himself is probably because the way he talk, people think he talking down on them. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what I think is happening. So the way he talk, people probably think he disrespecting them. You understand? I'm not saying he not. I'm not saying he is. But sometimes we could talk in a manner and we so sarcastic, people, they feel away. I know it happens. Anyway, any questions? Put it in the chat. If y'all got any questions, y'all want to ask me anything. Give me 1 second. If I'm saying anything wrong and anybody was in there, put it in the chat. I don't know what your question is, Tony Wall. You got to be more precise with it. I didn't say anything. I've only been telling you what they said in court. So if you could tell me when I said whatever I said, maybe I could tell you who said it. I didn't say anything. I've only repeated what happened in court. If two people's testimony don't line up, that's not a me thing. I'm just repeating what happened in court. So if people's testimony don't line up, that don't have nothing to do with me. Like I know there's somebody somebody testimony didn't line up, and under there's some idiot out there blaming me like I had something to do with it. I don't have nothing to do with what these guys are saying. Yeah, I don't have nothing to do with what any of these guys are saying. Nothing. I didn't tell them to say any of this stuff. I didn't tell them not to say any of this stuff. I don't have nothing to do with it. Guys gonna ask me, you about to ask me a question about what one witness said and compared to another witness. Like I'm telling these witnesses what to say anything. You know that y'all know that's what he's trying to do, right? This story ain't for me to believe or not to believe. But you know that's what the other guys are trying to do, right? It don't even make sense, fam. What the hell? What's up? Any questions? Anything y'all wanted me to go over? Anything you want to ask me? What doesn't make sense? I'm not saying nothing. I don't know what part you think don't make sense. Put it in the chat. Yeah, court tomorrow. I can't remember what time though. I think they changed the time. What is tomorrow? Tuesday. No, Troy Ave is not getting back on the stand as far as I know. I have no idea. I'm assuming everybody's testimony is their testimony. That it's not for me to determine whether they're telling the truth or not. Well, this is the background I got currently. I agree with you, Lawyer Up. I don't know. I think the people that might actually know these guys aren't commenting. Some people might be mad at me because I was trying to tell this nigga Troy Ave is being funny in court. That's not my fault. I've been reporting on this for how many days? You don't be seeing me laughing at shit. The shit was funny. I don't know what to tell you. They had the nerve to ask him if somebody came in the courtroom with a gun, what he was gonna do. He said he was gonna save everybody. What the fuck, man? That's not me making this shit up. I'm not making anything up. That's what he said. He's gonna save everybody. I believe Troy Ave said he threw the first punch. Literally. By the way, Ronnie Lott. The defense got stopped from using quite a few tactics that they wanted to use, just so we could be clear. No, I don't. He's not going to still be on the stand. The defense was prevented from using quite a few tactics. They were blocked with quite a few objections. They didn't lose all of the objections that went against them, but they were blocked from using a couple of different tactics that they tried. Like, hold on. We can go over some of it. So I'm going to go to some of the places the defense was trying to go, and then they were kind of prevented. Not because the court is doing anything wrong, but you have to have a basis for your questioning. So if the judge says that something can't be brought up, and if you could figure out a way to get to it, like you want to get somewhere, you want to get to a thing that you want to tell the jury about and you want to discuss with the jury, but you can't get there the ways, but there's things that you can't talk about that's going to make it easier to get to that discussion. So a lawyer has to figure a way around the conversation to bring it to what he wants to talk about. So the first thing he did was attack Troy Ave's, not credibility, but like his character, because immediately he started making songs as quickly as possible about what happened, disparaging Banger's family, and also disparaging Hovein's ex-wife. So they spoke about his character and basically that he's vindictive, right? Then they also talked about this from that he spoke about this from day one. So he's never not been talking about this. He's always been talking about this. That's laying the foundation. Remember, why is you here testifying? The defense is saying you're only testifying so you don't be held accountable for the crimes that you committed, meaning that you might be saying things that are not true on the stand right now. So one of the things that they wanted to point out immediately was kind of person, his character. His character is, he said disparaging things about the homeboy that he was with, family that died with him. So I'm just saying, I don't think he did a bad job. I understand what he was trying to do. Also, he says he was saying disparaging things about Hovein, R.I.P. Hovein. So basically, he was saying disparaging things about two people that passed away family. So I don't think he did a bad job here. He's working with what he got. There's parameters that he can't discuss. There's things he can't discuss unless he could figure out a way around the ways that the judge already said can't be used. And the reason why some of these things can't be used for different legal reasons. But one of the reasons for most of the time was they're not going to allow, this isn't a conversation you having in the street where one person is saying one thing, another person is saying another thing. And instead of talking about what the discussion is, we're talking about the people's character. So the courts isn't going to allow for you to just go up there and talk about somebody's character, unless not character. That's not what I mean. You can't just say defaming remarks about a person. You have to have a basis on something, basically. They're not going to allow for you to how do you say? Like poison the jury against the defendant. I said it earlier. My brain is just. Anyway, so I don't think he did a bad job on that. I don't think neither side did a bad job. I think they both did a good job today. Wait, you can't taint the jury, but I'm not thinking taint. Taint the jury would be something else differently, I think. But I'm not thinking taint, but you're on the road. You understand what I'm trying to say. At least somebody understands what I'm trying to say. In any regard, I think I'm going to let y'all go. We got court in the morning. I want to make sure I get to court in the morning. But you're not allowed to I can't remember it. I can't remember it. Anyway, the judge literally says it. Any regard, so you're just not allowed to do that. There's a thing you're not allowed to do, and it has to have basis. There has to be some basis on it, basically. So I think he did a good job. Like, once again, like, this is the thing that I keep trying to explain to people. When we're talking about having a conversation with something in court, you have these parameters there. This is not like when you're talking to people outside. You understand? You can't steer the jury. You only can steer the witness. That's like when you're talking to people outside, and people just be believing people because one guy's saying bad things about the other guy, and there's no basis. You can't steer the jury. You only can steer the witness. You're never talking directly to the jury. The jury never has to. The jury's never talking. How can you be steering in any regard? So. R.I.P. Banger. So I don't think he did a bad job. I know there was a couple of areas that I think he was trying to get to that he wasn't able to. But also remember, he hasn't called any witnesses yet. So one of the things he might be trying to do is just get things said on get things said in court for him to then be able to go attack that with his witnesses. You understand? Because remember, he's shooting for the credibility of Troy Ave. He's shooting for the credibility of the other witness, Malcolm. So he's probably just trying to get them to say things so then he could bring his own witnesses that could contradict what they said. Therefore, their credibility will get shot. And if their credibility gets shot, that's a benefit for TAXSTONE. So I'm not trying to get one guy off or on. I'm just trying to say I don't think he did a bad job today. I don't think anybody did a bad job. I think everybody was top tier today. That's just my opinion. I just think that both the defense attorney and the prosecuting attorneys have been doing a good job. Remember, you have people telling you, remember, if you wanted to say TAXSTONE won today, there's things that you could pick out. If you wanted to say TAXSTONE teams didn't lose today, there's things that you could pick out. You understand? There are things that you can pick out because both teams did well today, the prosecution and the defense. If you were in court and you was really physically there watching it, the defense looked like they were going at Troy Ave. The defense looked really well in their cross-examination. Now, reading it on paper and hearing me tell you it might not be the same energy. That's all I'm saying. This is definitely one of those situations where if you were there, you would probably have a little bit better. You'll understand it's more than just the logistics of it. It was a feeling. So Judge Abraham Clott. The judge is Judge Abraham Clott. I think we're in part 94 or something like that. So, Clott. 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 And just so I could be clear, everybody did a good job today. Like if you was there, if you could physically see the back and forth that Esquire had with Troy Ave, that looked like that was made for television type moment. I mean, I'm not trying to make anything seem like more than what it is, but it was gripping. It was interesting. It was the whole testimony was interesting. Just so we could be clear, Troy Ave just was when the prosecution also was questioning him. But when Esquire was questioning him, I'm just telling you what it is. I believe that it should be going on. They didn't say it wasn't. I guess when we wake up in the morning, we'll see what it is. But they didn't say it wasn't. As far as I know, yes, there's still gonna be snow. I mean, there's still gonna be show. Actually, he looks like a pretty cool judge, but I tell you one thing, I haven't seen none of them trying him. He looks like one of those really cool judges that once you get on the wrong side of him, it's kind of over. Once you're on the wrong side of him, it's kind of over because they not playing with him. And the prosecution was pissed off at this one part. This one moment, like she was pissed off, and she was like, "He violated the thing. He wasn't supposed to do the thing." Redan says on Doggy Diamond's interview, Trife Gangster said Banger was done with Troy after the whole situation with Banger getting bail. Banger was supposed to be at an all-white party. Troy begged Banger to come. R.I.P. Ronald McFadden. Sad situation all around. 100% agree. Um, JB says Troy really didn't diss Banger's family. He agreed to it on the stand, though. He did on the stand, just so you know. Troy really didn't diss Banger family. He was trying to defend himself because they blamed him. That's what he said. He said they tried to pay for the funeral. He tried to pay for a funeral and do a repair, but the family didn't want him involved. Troy was hurting. Um, he did say that they blamed him for Banger. The lawyer was not trying to get the courtroom to laugh, as it was definitely a Troy Ave thing. He said a couple of things I found interesting. He said Troy Ave said something about something, and he said that he's gonna bring a that basically he might bring a police officer in that's gonna refute the thing that Troy Ave said. Troy Ave calls everybody broke. That's his thing. That's one of his things. Yes, this is very sorry to say, but the way you're making it sound like it's one of those situations where, you know, everybody would be better off if they would have just, you know, went with their guts. If one of them would have went with their gut. Everybody would be better off if one of them would have went with their gut. Very sorry to say. What up, brother OTG? I hope I'm doing a halfway decent job. I'm doing what I do. I hope I'm doing a halfway decent job. I want to apologize for all the laughing earlier in the video. I was not trying to laugh. There's a man that lost his life here. There's another man that's on trial for his life. I promise you I didn't. I wasn't out here thinking about laughing at this situation. But they was just saying a whole bunch of things that it was legitimately funny, man. Yes, Troy said that when they go to events, they call the hip hop police and let them know where they're gonna be. Brother OTG says you're the only one doing it. Everybody else saying that's what tax get. Well, I don't do gossip. I'm not shooting at nobody. But I don't do gossip. They just lie to y'all and tell y'all I do gossip. But I don't do gossip. So if you've never been to Jack Frost's page before, or you just forgot how it was, I don't do gossip. I'm not right about everything, but I don't do gossip. If you would like to support the channel and what we do over here, the Cash App is pinned. You can hit the Cash App. But I don't do gossip. I've never done gossip. Every once in a while, I will engage with y'all a little bit, telling y'all my opinion about stuff. But I've never done gossip over here. We've never done gossip. You understand? That's why I get into arguments with people. Because while I'm saying facts, they want to gossip. We've never done gossip. Yeah, I got some weirdo people that try to tell everybody don't come over to this page because they don't know how to do this. So they don't want y'all to see that I know I'm doing. So I got weirdo people that tell people don't come to the page, don't support the page, all types of other shit because they don't know what they doing. So I don't know what to tell you. Thank you for not adhering or falling for it. That's all I can say. Thank you for not falling for it. That's all I can tell you. Thank you for not falling for it. This is the type of stuff we've been doing. Yeah, they've been contacting you. They've been contacting everybody. What you want me to do? If I tell somebody that's happening, they're going to tell me I'm capping. They're going to be like, yo, nobody doing that. So what you going to do? What you going to do? That's not something somebody going to believe. Nobody going to believe this shit. In any regard, if you want to support the channel, there's a Cash App. It'd be dope if some of y'all pull up to the Cash App tonight. We got 370 people in here. Y'all, most of y'all agree I'm doing a halfway good job. We topped out at about 603 tonight. Some number like that. I'm gonna rewrite all of my notes in better order, and we're gonna do some stuff with the case. Nah, they contact everybody. It is what it is, though. I don't want to talk about that. But they contact everybody. Everybody. And every female that comes here gets contacted. So they're going to be, every female that's in here, they're going to be contacting you sooner or later. It is what it is. You can't control other people, man. Some people, like I told you, these people are sick. They just mad. JB says, when Troy talking about Banger family, I saw a hurt man that felt guilty about Banger death and had to grieve in public while being blamed for it, trying to be tough while hurting and unable to communicate. Nah, I definitely could. I think that I can't disagree with what you just said there. I wouldn't take the stand if I was TAXSTONE. I don't know what he's gonna do. Yeah, I can't. About what tax? I can't. I wouldn't put him on the stand unless he's gonna go on the stand and directly refute. And he's. I don't know. I don't know if that's a great idea. I don't know if that's a great idea. It's not. It's putting the defendant on the stand is. They just put that Murdaugh guy on the stand, and he absolutely screwed the pooch, and he's gonna be in jail for the rest of his life. I don't know if he take that chance. I don't know if he take that chance. People have been doing drops. I just haven't been calling it. Um, I'm just gonna yell out some names. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Sharon B. Shout out to AG. Shout out to Trissy. Trissy C. Trissy 3. Tracy. Is that supposed to be 33? But you wrote Tracy. No, the judge has already told the jury, don't consider it anything if if the defendant doesn't take the stand. That's not him denoting. They shouldn't denote any guilt to that. If he decides he doesn't want to take the stand, you shouldn't denote any guilt to that. They've already been informed of that. That you have to look at the accused and consider the accused innocent until proven guilty. That he's just the accused. Ah, shoot. hold on. I got one of those things plugged in. Give me a second. All right, so I think I'm gonna let y'all go. Um, I think I'm gonna let y'all go. Everybody have a beautiful night. Is there anything else y'all want to ask me before we get out of here? I just want to be sure. Troyav said that that he heard somebody say was popping, then he heard somebody say was popping again. Apparently, then he heard Benga say was popping, and then when he heard Benga say was popping, he realized they was talking to him. And then when he realized they was talking to him, then when they realized they was talking to him, he realized that it was TAXSTONE because he had seen somebody else there that was there that he knows TAXSTONE people. At first, they thought closing was going to be at the end of this week, but apparently it's not now. It's already about midnight. We got to wake up to go in the morning. So I'm going to let y'all go. Make sure I get the court on time tomorrow. I missed a little bit of freaking testimony today because the courtroom got full when we came back from lunch. Definitely. So everybody have a enjoyable night. If you got anybody still awake in your household, give them a hug. Tell them you love them. You don't never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. Give people their flowers while they still here. Also, when you go to bed, wake up. Make sure you have a glass of water. Believe me, water on an empty stomach, it allows the lining of your stomach to absorb the nutrients in the water quicker. It's gonna be good for you. I promise you. And whenever you helping somebody else be the best them that they could be in that moment, you being the best you that you could be. So go out there and be great. God first. Like, comment, subscribe. Join the notification gang. Hashtag Bronx Bombers. Let's get it. I love y'all. Take care of each other. Hug the kids for me. I haven't forgotten about you, and that's all I got on this one. I'm out.